Chapter 741. For Zhong Xiaotian, Yang Ming had no impression of him. When he was in Hong Kong, he didn't meet Zhong Xiaotian. Moreover, the two guys that Zhong Xiaotian sent to find trouble with Yang Ming, Chicken Eye and Brother He, were also killed by Feng Dao and He Shu by accident. As for Zhong Xiaotian, although he was afraid for a while afterward, he didn't see Yang Ming appear again, so he forgot about it. When he saw Yang Ming just now, although he felt that he was familiar, he didn't remember that this person was the person who bought the ring at the auction. When they entered the room, Yang Ming turned around and wanted to see what was going on in the room. At this time the door opened. Qin Mengyan poked her head out and said to Yang Ming in a simple tone, "You come in." Oh. Yang Ming didn't know what Qin Mengyan was going to do, but he braced himself and went in. "Don't you know how to close the door?" Qin Mengyan saw Yang Ming standing at the door stupidly and rolled her eyes at him. "You don't want everyone to know about your family's matters, right?" Yang Ming closed the door and looked at Lin Jiyun and Qin Mengyan, who were sitting side by side on the bed. The two didn't seem to have quarreled. On the contrary, they seemed to be somewhat harmonious. Yang Ming walked carefully to the bed. Just as he was about to sit down, he heard Qin Mengyan say, "Did I ask you to sit down?" Yang Ming was shocked. His butt seemed to be equipped with a spring and he stood up again. "Sister Yen, you let him sit down?" Looking at Yang Ming's embarrassed look, Lin Jiyun said with some sympathy. Qin Mengyan frowned and turned to look at Lin Jiyun. She flattened her mouth and said with an exasperated look, "You really? We just agreed to interrogate him together. Why did you start to feel distressed after letting him stand for a while?" AI. When Yang Ming heard Qin Mengyan's words, he knew that the two women must have reached a consensus in the room. However, Lin Jiyun turned her head and became a spy. Lin Jiyun blushed and was very embarrassed. She also said it subconsciously and didn't think too much. At this time she quickly apologized. "I'm sorry, Sister Yen, forget it. You sit down." Qin Mengyan didn't want to embarrass Lin Jiyun, so she pointed her finger at Yang Ming. Just now, when Yang Ming entered the room and sat on the bed, he didn't think too much. But now he was in a dilemma. Should I sit on Lin Jiyun's side or Qin Mengyan's side? Logically, Qin Mengyan was his real girlfriend. It was natural for him to sit on her side. However, he felt sorry for Lin Jiyun. He just did it with her and she was left out. It wasn't right. It couldn't be helped. Yang Ming had to bite the bullet and come between Qin Mengyan and Lin Jiyun. He turned around and wanted to sit down. "What are you doing?" Qin Mengyan pushed Yang Ming angrily and said, "I asked you to sit down. Why are you still pushing your luck? Go to the side." Although Lin Jiyun and Qin Mengyan were very close, there was still some distance between the two, so Yang Ming had the opportunity to take advantage of it. However, Qin Mengyan's words helped Yang Ming out. Yang Ming no longer sat on the bed but sat on the opposite sofa. "Sister Yen, I'll go first." Lin Jiyun couldn't stand the tense atmosphere. She stood up and said carefully, "What should I say to you?" Qin Mengyan looked at Lin Jiyun's pitiful look. She was annoyed and amused. "You are really weaker than Sister Lin in Dream of the Red Chamber. You will be bullied to death by Yang Ming in the future." "Sister Yen, I'm sorry." Lin Jiyun saw that Qin Mengyan was angry and quickly apologized. "Forget it. I don't care about you. You are willing to be bullied to death by him. I'm the bad guy." Qin Mengyan said helplessly, "Let's go together. Let's ask Yang Ming to send you back." "So late. I'm worried even if he is relieved." Yang Ming was amused. It turned out that Qin Mengyan was venting for Lin Jiyun. In other words, Qin Mengyan was using Lin Jiyun's matter to vent her anger on him. It was no wonder when he thought about it. Lin Jiyun was actually just a victim of the struggle between Wang Jitao and himself. The struggle between Wang Jitao and himself was because of Qin Mengyan. Therefore, even if Qin Mengyan was angry, it was impossible to vent it on Lin Jiyun. With Qin Mengyan's character, she would most likely sympathize with Lin Jiyun. Qin Mengyan was such a person. She had a sharp tongue but a soft heart. When she didn't see Lin Jiyun, she was very disgusted with her. When she really saw her, she began to sympathize with her. Moreover, Lin Jiyun called Qin Mengyan as elder sister Yen. Presumably, Qin Mengyan had acquiesced to her existence. In fact, according to the time calculation, Lin Jiyun was Yang Ming's first woman. Strictly speaking, she also had the opportunity to compete for the first wife. But since she didn't care about this, Yang Ming was happy to see it. Originally, Qin Mengyan also wanted to take the opportunity to intimidate Yang Ming to see if he still had something to hide from her. However, because of Lin Jiyun's interference, she couldn't ask anything and had to give up. The three of them went downstairs and came to the parking lot downstairs. There was only one passenger seat. If Chen Mengyan or Lin Jiyun were alone with Yang Ming, then they would definitely sit in the passenger seat. However, both of them were there at the same time, but no one took the initiative to sit in the passenger seat. Instead, they all sat in the back. On the road, Yang Ming drove carefully and didn't dare to say much. Yang Ming was also very puzzled as to why Chen Mengyan suddenly appeared at earthly paradise. She just happened to witness him and Lin Jiyun going to a hotel. However, these words couldn't be asked now. He could only wait until there was a chance in the future. After sending Lin Jiyun back to the door, Yang Ming didn't dare to accompany Lin Jiyun back. He just told her outside the car to rest well and not to think too much. Lin Jiyun smiled shyly and whispered to Yang Ming, "Elder sister Yen is a very good person. She is actually not really angry. You have to deal with it carefully later." Yang Ming was very happy. It seemed that Lin Jiyun's character was destined to be unable to form an alliance with Chen Mengyan to deal with him. Watching Lin Jiyun go away, Yang Ming returned to the car and carefully said to Chen Mengyan, who was sitting in the back, "Dear, sit in the front?" "No." Chen Mengyan shook her head firmly. Yang Ming sighed and didn't insist. He started the car and said, "That's fine. Where are we going now?" Chen Mengyan didn't speak, but she looked out of the window and was in a daze. Yang Ming couldn't be helped. He had to drive the car around the city first. His heart was also in a mess. Some things were involuntary, but this couldn't be a reason for him to escape. He had to find a way to solve this matter. Now it seemed that the ending was satisfactory, but Yang Ming also knew that no matter how kind and tolerant Chen Mengyan was, she would always have some temper. Who was willing to share half of their own things with others. What's more, feelings were the kind of things that couldn't be divided. The night was bright. Although the night in Songjiang wasn't as prosperous as the provincial capital, there were still many restaurants open at this time. Looking at this, Yang Ming couldn't help but feel a little hungry, but it wasn't good to ask, so he had to endure. "Stop the car." Chen Mengyan suddenly spoke and said to Yang Ming in a hurry. Yang Ming was shocked and quickly stopped the car by the roadside. He didn't know what Chen Mengyan wanted to do. Chen Mengyan pushed open the back door and got out of the car. Yang Ming was shocked. He thought that Chen Mengyan was going to run away. He was about to stop the car and chase after her, but he saw Chen Mengyan open the door of the front passenger seat and get in. Before Yang Ming could react, Chen Mengyan threw herself on him. Why are you so fickle in love?" Chen Mengyan hugged Yang Ming and tears flowed down. "What should I do? I don't know what I should do. You have other women. I can only accept it with a smile." Yang Ming looked at Chen Mengyan's sad voice and understood in his heart. Which woman would be happy when she encountered such a thing? Although Chen Mengyan had been very generous in front of Lin Jiyun, it was completely against her heart. There was no way. She had to face the mistakes made by Yang Ming together. For Lin Jiyun, an innocent girl, Chen Mengyan couldn't blame her. Yang Ming hugged Chen Mengyan's soft body. He was very upset. He patted her back gently and didn't know what to say to comfort her. A woman's heart is easily filled by a man. "I don't want to lose you, so I can only choose to accept it," Chen Mengyan said with grievance. Yang Ming didn't want to say anything sorry because it wasn't necessary. What was the use of apologizing? He just quietly hugged Chen Mengyan and listened to her talk. After a while, Chen Mengyan separated from Yang Ming's body. She took 2 pieces of facial tissue from the car and wiped her tears. She smiled and said, "After complaining, my mood is much better. Fortunately, I'm young. I don't need to wear makeup. Otherwise, I would have cried until my face was ruined." Yang Ming didn't say anything. He just looked at Chen Mengyan affectionately. This somewhat capricious and proud girl had made such a big change for him. If it were half a year ago, Yang Ming wouldn't believe that these words would come from Chen Mengyan's mouth. Even a month ago, when the incident with Zhao Ying and Zhou Jiejie didn't happen, Chen Mengyan still wouldn't compromise so easily. But now, although this was good news, Yang Ming wasn't happy at all. On the contrary, his heart was very uncomfortable. This was a girl who he loved and loved for a lifetime. If there was a next life, or if time could go back and he didn't get this special ability, Yang Ming hoped that he could spend a lifetime with her. But now, "Why are you looking at me?" "Drive." Chen Mengyan saw that Yang Ming was staring at her and she was embarrassed. "Where are we going?" asked Yang Ming. "Heavenly Earth," Chen Mengyan whispered. Chapter 742. Heavenly Earth? Yang Ming was stunned. Why are we going back to Heavenly Earth? Before Qin Mengyan answered, there was a harsh siren outside the car window. Several police cars flashed their lights and roared past. Is there a big operation at Uncle Chen's place today? Yang Ming looked strangely at the police cars in succession and asked. I don't know. Seems that my dad has a mission. Why would he tell me these things? Originally, the atmosphere in the car was just right and there was a touch of ambiguity. However, it was destroyed by Yang Ming's casual question. Qin Mengyan was naturally a little annoyed and said snappily. I see. Yang Ming didn't care. He started the car and asked, You just said that we are going to Heavenly Earth? Why are we going back? Before Qin Mengyan spoke, the phone rang at this time. Qin Mengyan took out the phone and glanced at it. She made a silent gesture to Yang Ming and picked up the phone. Oh, Mom, what's the matter? It was unknown what was said on the other side of the phone, but Qin Mengyan's expression suddenly changed. Mom, what did you say? Okay, I got it. I will be there right away. What's wrong? Yang Ming felt that something was wrong. After Qin Mengyan hung up the phone, he quickly asked. My dad just had a car accident. At the First People's Hospital. Qin Mengyan's tone changed. He was crying and frightened. What? You said that Uncle Qin had a car accident? Yang Ming was shocked when he heard Qin Mengyan's words. Is it dangerous? I'm not sure. My mom is also on the way. Let's hurry over. Qin Mengyan said in a hurry. Okay. Yang Ming quickly turned the car around and rushed to the First People's Hospital. Along the way, Qin Mengyan bit her lip and lowered her head. She kept looking at the time on the phone, but she didn't open her mouth to urge Yang Ming. She didn't want Yang Ming to have another car accident. However, Yang Ming didn't think that the possibility of an accident was high. Although the speed was very fast, Yang Ming could see the movement in a few kilometers ahead at a glance. Whether it was a corner or a fork, Yang Ming could be prepared in advance. All the way to the People's Hospital. Downstairs of the hospital, they saw several police cars with flashing lights. Obviously, they had just arrived. They were the ones that Yang Ming had just seen. Yang Ming and Qin Mengyan knew several police officers here. Among them, there was the police officer surnamed Kai that they met at the entrance of Qin Mengyan's home. There was also a deputy captain that Yang Ming had seen before. His surname was Li. Yang Ming's car came and parked side by side beside the police car. Obviously, it also attracted the attention of police officer Kai and Captain Li. When they saw Yang Ming and Qin Mengyan get out of the car, they immediately ran over. Mengyan, little Yang, you are here. Uncle Kai, how is my father? Qin Mengyan asked quickly after getting out of the car. I'm not sure yet. He was just pushed into the operating room. Captain Xiao is following him. Police officer Kai shook his head and smiled bitterly. But don't be angry. He should be fine. When Captain Qin caught the gangsters, his injuries were more serious than this. He survived. Captain Xiao was naturally referring to Xia Shui. Although Xia Shui was relatively young, she had been promoted to the deputy captain. Police officer Kai still had to be respectful. For Xia Shui's promotion, Yang Ming was also very puzzled. Although Xia Shui had made a contribution in Wang Shifan's smuggling case, she was too young. It was reasonable to only record the merit and award the rank, but she was mentioned as a deputy captain. This made Yang Ming wonder if there was a deep background behind Xia Shui. However, then again, no matter how strong the background was, it was useless if she didn't have the ability. However, Xia Shui's contribution seemed to be free. Not long after, a Toyota 4700 also flashed with police lights. Qin Mengyan's mother jumped out of the car. Chief Wang of the police station was with her. For Chief Wang, Yang Ming also had an impression of him. He was an old classmate of Principal Li in high school. He had seen him once in the Good Samaritan case. As the leader of the unit, his subordinate had a car accident while performing official duties. Naturally, he had to come and visit. It seemed that he first picked up Mother Qin and then came together. Accompanying him was a deputy director in charge of criminal investigation work. The few of them also looked anxious. When Qin Mengyan saw that her mother had come, she immediately ran over and threw herself into her mother's arms. Originally, she wanted to hug Yang Ming, but there were too many acquaintances here. They were all her father's colleagues. How could Qin Mengyan do that? Mom. Qin Mengyan hugged Mother Qin tightly. Although Mother Qin was also very worried about Qin Fei's safety, after all, she was an adult. She was also a senior executive in the unit. She was calmer, so she comforted, Ming, don't be afraid. It's okay. Mom is here. Mother Chin saw that Yang Ming was also there, so she nodded to him and said, Little Yang, sorry for troubling you. Yang Ming shook his head and said, Auntie Chin is too polite. With the relationship between me and Meng Yan, how can there be troubling? I should be here. As he said this, a doctor in a white coat came out and shouted to the crowd, Who is Chin Fei's family member? Come here. After Mother Chin heard it, she quickly walked over with Chin Meng Yan. Yang Ming and others followed behind. Doctor, I am Chin Fei's wife. How is he? Mother Chin calmed down and asked. Chin Fei's life is not in danger, but the right calf part has a comminuted fracture. He needs immediate surgery. Please come and sign. The doctor said. Hearing that Chin Fei's life was not in danger, everyone was relieved. However, when Mother Chin heard that her husband's calf was comminuted, she couldn't help but worry. Doctor, then Chin Fei's leg will have any problems in the future? If this recovers, there is no problem in walking normally, but it is impossible to participate in any long-distance running. The doctor explained, also if it rains on cloudy days the leg may hurt. Skid. When Bureau Chief Wang heard the doctor's words, he was afraid that Mother Chin would be worried. He quickly persuaded, Chin Fei is not young anymore. In the future he will do the command and coordination work. The specific errands will be done by the young people. Mother Chin also knew that this was already a blessing in the misfortune. Even if he really became a cripple, it was better than not being alive. After signing, everyone went to the hospital to wait. When Chin Meng Yan heard that her father's life was not in danger, she was relieved. Bureau Chief Wang asked Deputy Captain Li to pay the bill and go through the hospitalization procedures. Because it was a car accident during the execution of a mission, it was a work injury. The bureau bore all the medical expenses. Several people sat in the lounge. After a while, a young man came in with a circle of gauze wrapped around his head. When he saw Bureau Chief Wang, he was very embarrassed and said, Bureau Chief Wang, okay, no one wants this to happen. You tell me what the situation was at that time. Bureau Chief Wang waved his hand and said, Zhao, you drive very steadily. What happened this time? Zhao was Chin Fei's driver. His injury was not serious. He just hit his head and got 3 stitches. It was not a big problem. He also felt guilty for breaking Chin Fei's leg. Bureau Chief Wang, I saw a ghost. Zhao said carefully. What? Bureau Chief Wang was stunned, then he immediately frowned and said, Zhao, what nonsense are you talking about? What ghost? How can there be ghosts in this world? Bureau Chief Wang, I know you definitely don't believe it, but I did see a ghost. A person without half of his head in the middle of the road, and he was running toward me. When Zhao said this, his eyes showed horror. Apparently he was scared. But how could Bureau Chief Wang believe in ghosts? After working in police work for most of his life, he had dealt with many dead people. How could he believe Zhao's words? Zhao, are you drunk? What nonsense are you talking about? Bureau Chief Wang couldn't help but shout, when young people make mistakes, just admit it. No one will blame you. It's not that we can't understand if you say that you were distracted and accidentally got into a car accident, but the reason you came up with is too ridiculous, right? Bureau Chief Wang, I really saw it. I didn't lie to you. Zhao was still defending himself. You. Bureau Chief Wang was obviously angry with him. Chapter 743. But it must be low-key. Edward's identity is very special. Can't be exposed. Chief Wang whispered. The voice was so low that only Xia Shui on the side could hear it. The others present couldn't hear it. However, no one would deliberately listen. After all, there were organizational disciplines. Some tasks were to be carried out secretly. However, Yang Ming had been paying attention to Chief Wang. Although he couldn't hear Chief Wang's words, he could see Chief Wang's mouth shape clearly. 2 foreigners. Edward. Yang Ming's heart moved. Could it be that these 2 guys died in a car accident? No wonder I haven't seen these 2 guys jump out again in the past few days. Logically, such a big thing as Edward and Little Dorsk's car accident should be reported in the newspaper. However, when the police checked the identities of the 2 people, they found that Edward was a terrorist wanted by Interpol. This person originally worked for a mercenary group in Africa and participated in several terrorist attacks. Edward's original name wasn't Edward. Edward was a fake identity after he quit the mercenary group. Therefore, this kind of thing involved some confidential things. It couldn't be made public, so the newspaper didn't report it. Although Yang Ming didn't know the specific inside story of the matter, he saw that Chief Wang lowered his voice and these things weren't reported. He understood that it was definitely not suitable to be made public. So he didn't ask anything. Chief Wang asked Xia Shui to drive Zhao back and ask him about seeing ghosts. Since Qin Fei was fine, Chief Wang and the other leaders also greeted Mother Qin and left first. The people left, leaving only Mother Qin, Yang Ming, Qin Mengyan, and a few policemen in the criminal investigation team. Yang Ming, you send little Yen home first. Mother Qin said, I'm fine here. It's useless if all of you are here. I want to stay here with Dad. Qin Mengyan didn't comply. Be obedient, Xiao Yan. Your dad was anesthetized during the operation. He won't wake up tonight. Mother Qin said, you go back and rest early. Come and bring some food for your dad tomorrow morning. Qin Mengyan also understood that her mother was telling the truth, but she still had some concerns. Then, if Dad wakes up no matter how late it is, can you give me a call? You guys go first. I'll be fine. Old Kai and Old Li are here. Mother Qin was referring to Officer Kai and Deputy Captain Li. Director Wang was Qin Fei's leader. It was enough for him to visit Qin Fei and show his sincerity. However, Lao Kai and Deputy Captain Li were both Qin Fei's subordinates. It was normal for them to follow Qin Fei. Then Auntie Qin, you should rest early. Yang Ming said politely. However, in his heart he was thinking that he should inform his parents to come over tomorrow. His parents and Qin Mengyan had already met. The two families had basically agreed on the matter between him and Qin Mengyan, so it was necessary for his parents to come over. And I know. You should drive slowly and pay attention to safety. Mother Qin instructed. Don't worry, Auntie Qin. Yang Ming nodded and said. He left the hospital with Qin Mengyan. Although Qin Mengyan was still a little worried, her expression at the moment was much better than before. Fortunately, Uncle Qin is fine. Yang Ming smiled kindly. This is already the best result. That's right. His leg is broken and he will be fine after a period of rest. Qin Mengyan said, it just so happens that my dad usually works and doesn't have a holiday. Just treat it as a holiday. It's best that you can think like this. Yang Ming and Qin Mengyan got in the car together and drove in the direction of Qin Mengyan's home. Qin Mengyan's mood was still not very good. Yang Ming deliberately teased her to talk. Have you been online recently? Asked Yang Ming. You have been busy with the company's matters recently. You are not online. I don't have many netizens on QQ, Qin Mengyan said. Oh yes, I saw Zhang Bin's QQ signature that day. It was very funny. Yang Ming said. What signature? Qin Mengyan asked casually, why didn't I see it? Qin Mengyan also had Zhang Bin's account on QQ, you may not have noticed. Yang Ming said he wrote, the person I admire most in my life is Su Xian. Speaking of this, Yang Ming deliberately paused. Qin Mengyan was somewhat puzzled. Su Xian in the Legend of the White Snake. Why does he admire Su Xian? He hasn't finished yet. He said, the person I admire most in my life is Su Xian because he dares to control snakes. Yang Ming said seriously. Qin Mengyan was stunned and immediately reacted. She held back her laughter and stared at Yang Ming. You're really disgusting. He said it. I was just relaying it. Yang Ming said innocently. Then you can't change to a more elegant word. For example, because he found a snake to be his girlfriend. Qin Mengyan reprimanded. Isn't the meaning the same? Yang Ming smiled. That's not the same. Who said that a girlfriend must be that? Qin Mengyan retorted with a blush. She temporarily forgot the worry in her heart. But, seeing Qin Mengyan's appearance, Yang Ming's heart suddenly moved. Just now she wanted to go to the earthly paradise. Could it be that she wants to do it with me? Yang Ming was a little uncertain. However, looking at Qin Mengyan's appearance before the association, there was an 80% possibility. However, now that there was Qin Fei's matter, Yang Ming couldn't ask Qin Mengyan about her previous thoughts. Right, the day after tomorrow is the first concert of Shuya. Can you go? Yang Ming changed the topic. I know. Look at my father's injury. Or you can go with Lin Jiun. Qin Mengyan shook her head. If you want to go, then the three of us will go together. If you don't go, what are we going to do? Yang Ming originally thought about going separately with Lin Jiun and Qin Mengyan. However, now that the relationship between Qin Mengyan and Lin Jiun was clear, There was no need to act separately. It wouldn't be good. Let's not. 3 people will be very awkward. Qin Mengyan disagreed. Then let's talk about it later. The car stopped downstairs at Qin Mengyan's house. Yang Ming and Qin Mengyan got off together and said, I will send you upstairs. And Qin Mengyan nodded. It was so late and she was a little scared herself. When they came to Qin Mengyan's door, Qin Mengyan was about to take out the key to open the door. Suddenly, a man rushed down the stairs, scaring Qin Mengyan and Yang Ming. Yang Ming's attention wasn't on the corridor, so he didn't use his special ability to detect in advance. Ah! Qin Mengyan exclaimed, and the key in her hand almost fell to the ground. Who is it? Yang Ming shouted. Because this person's behavior was very strange, he didn't run down the stairs directly after coming down, but he stood not far in front of Qin Mengyan and Yang Ming. Obviously, the man was stunned by Yang Ming's shout. After a while he said, Who are you? Who am I? Yang Ming was almost amused. You stood up to scare people and you still ask who I am? You're Qin Mengyan, right? The man didn't wait for Yang Ming to answer, and he turned his head to Qin Mengyan. You are? Qin Mengyan also frowned in doubt. She didn't seem to know the person in front of her, but he looked familiar. I am your second uncle. Did you forget? I even hugged you when you were a child. The man grinned, revealing the wrinkles on his face. Second uncle? Qin Mengyan stared at the person in front of her carefully. It seems that he is really my second uncle. In my mother's photo album I vaguely saw this person. However, when Qin Mengyan was very young, not long after her parents started working, her second uncle was sentenced to prison for embezzling a huge amount of money from the company. Although it was a huge amount, it was only 20,000 yuan. It wasn't much now, but in the early 90s, there weren't many households with 10,000 yuan. This 20,000 yuan was a huge number. Fortunately, it was returned in time, or else he wouldn't necessarily be sentenced to a heavy sentence. It's me, it's me. The man thought that Qin Mengyan recognized him and he nodded quickly. Yang Ming looked at this person very vigilantly. Obviously, Qin Mengyan wasn't very familiar with this person, so as long as this person did something that wasn't good for Qin Mengyan, Yang Ming would immediately explode. Why are you looking for me? Qin Mengyan was still very vigilant. She quietly put the key in her hand into her pocket and leaned toward Yang Ming. This young man is your boyfriend, right? He looks like a talent. Not bad, not bad. The man turned his head and praised Yang Ming. Yang Ming frowned and said, Sir, what do you want? Even if you are Qin Mengyan's second uncle, you should have something to prove your identity, right? The man was stunned, and then a trace of anger flashed in his eyes, but it disappeared in an instant. He turned into a peaceful smile and said, You see, I forgot. Indeed, I haven't seen you for so many years. Anyone would be suspicious. I just got out of prison. This is my release letter. As he spoke, the man took out a piece of paper from his pocket and handed it to Qin Mengyan. Qin Mengyan took the paper handed over by the man and looked at it carefully. It was really a release letter. The name on it was the name of her second uncle, Qin Dezhuang. The release date was today. Yang Ming also glanced at the release letter. The photo on it was indeed the person in front of him. However, Yang Ming's heart was always vigilant. Why didn't this person rush to go home when he was just released? Instead, he came to Qin Mengyan's house. Could it be that he is looking for trouble with Qin Fei? Was his case handled by Qin Fei? However, Yang Ming glanced at the date of sentencing and denied this idea. At that time, Qin Fei had just joined the workforce. He mentioned it when chatting with his father, Yang Dehai. At that time, he was only responsible for some errands in the police station. He had not yet joined the criminal investigation team. Moreover, this kind of embezzlement case should be handled by the criminal investigation team. It had nothing to do with Qin Fei. Chapter 744. Before Yang Ming determined Qin Dezhuang's real intention, he still looked at him coldly. Seeing that Qin Mengyan didn't speak, Qin Dezhuang thought that she also doubted his identity. He was even more annoyed with Yang Ming. Just now, because of Yang Ming's doubt, Qin Dezhuang was very angry. This is my family's matter. What does it have to do with you? However, after all, he was now under someone else's roof. He had to lower his head and said patiently, Mengyan, are you doubting your uncle? This is my ID card and the photo taken when your dad and mom got married. Look, this is me. This photo can't be fake, right? After Qin Mengyan saw the release letter, she no longer doubted Qin Dezhuang's identity. When she saw her parents' wedding photo, She was more sure that the person in front of her was the second uncle who was in prison. Qin Mengyan breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "Second uncle, are you looking for my dad?" "Yes. But it's the same no matter who I look for." "I can look for you." Qin Dazhuang nodded quickly. "Look for me? Why are you looking for me?" Qin Mengyan was somewhat inexplicable. When she was more than 1 year old, her second uncle was sentenced to prison. Since then there had been no contact. If he said that he was looking for her father, it was possible. But looking for her, it seemed unlikely, right? "That I just got out of prison. I have no place to go and no money in my hands." Qin Dazhuang's original position in the company wasn't low. He was also a person who could respond to a call. Otherwise, it was impossible to have access to so much money. However, as the prison wore him down, he lost his original sharpness and arrogance. Although he still had some backbone, in order to survive he had to lower his head to his knees. After a long time, Yang Ming finally understood that the person in front of him was here to borrow money. He suddenly said with some displeasure, "You just got out of prison. You should go home. Uncle Qin and Auntie aren't here. You should come back another day." Yang Ming knew that Qin Mengyan was not the kind of person who liked to reject others, so he could only be the bad guy. However, Yang Ming was not a heartless person. The key problem was that the matter was not clear yet. Qin Fei was lying in the hospital. How could Qin Mengyan decide to lend the money herself? In fact, Qin Mengyan also wanted to refuse. After all, although the person in front of her was her uncle in name, they were basically not related by blood. Her parents were from Qin village and almost everyone in the village had the surname Qin. In terms of relatives, she could make some connections with each other. She didn't know where this Qin Dazhuang came from. Qin Dazhuang was a little annoyed. He wanted to say that this had nothing to do with her, but he resisted and didn't say it. If it weren't for the desperate situation, Qin Dazhuang wouldn't come to borrow money. After calming down his mood with difficulty, Qin Dazhuang said, "My wife and I divorced. She took the child and went with another man. I have nowhere to go now. Please lend me some money. When I find a job in the future, I will definitely return it to you." This Qin Mengyan was very kind. When she heard Qin Dazhuang say it so pitifully, she immediately felt compassion. Yang Ming also frowned. This person didn't seem to be lying. From his tone and expression, Qin Dazhuang seemed to be completely forced to do this. "How much do you want?" asked Yang Ming. Qin Dazhuang was stunned. Just now Yang Ming strongly opposed to giving him money. Now it was Yang Ming who asked him how much money he wanted. This made Qin Dazhuang somewhat unable to respond. After a long time he said, 300. Is that okay?" On the first day Qin Dazhuang was released from prison, he found that the outside world had changed dramatically. Especially the prices, which were much more expensive than before. The tofu pudding that used to cost 3 cents now cost 2 yuan. The sesame seed cake that used to cost 5 cents for 3 now cost 8 cents. Therefore, the minimum standard for Qin Dazhuang's meal became 3 yuan, which was about 10 yuan a day. Qin Dazhuang calculated that even if he slept at the train station or the bus station every night, he would need about 300 yuan for a month's meal. 300? Yang Ming was stunned. He thought that Qin Dazhuang would ask for tens of thousands of yuan. He didn't expect that he only asked for 300 yuan. It seemed that he was really forced to borrow money because he had no other choice. Yang Ming took out his wallet and counted out 1,000 yuan from it. He handed it to Qin Dazhuang and said, "Take it. Rent a cheaper house and then find a job." Qin Dazhuang looked at the banknotes handed by Yang Ming and was stunned. He didn't expect his niece's boyfriend to be so generous. He just took out 1,000 yuan. In fact, he was sentenced to 10 years because of 20,000 yuan. He could be released early because he worked well in prison and the result was reduced. Of course, it was also because of Qin Fei's face. With Qin Fei's promotion, the prison also took care of Qin Dazhuang. Thank you, Qin Dazhuang said quickly. "We can help you once, but we can't help you for a lifetime. In the future you have to rely on yourself." Yang Ming waved his hand and said, "This money is not in a hurry to return. Now the policy is much better than before. You can do some small business. Set up a stall in the night market or something. Okay, I will work hard and not cause trouble for others." Qin Dazhuang nodded heavily. He didn't expect Yang Ming to be so young. What he said was very reasonable. The previous bad impression disappeared. After Qin Dazhuang left, Qin Mengyan took out the key and opened the door. Then she entered the house with Yang Ming. Yang Ming, can you not tell my mother about this? I don't want her to be distracted by other things. Qin Mengyan hesitated for a while and said. She didn't know whether it was right or wrong for her and Yang Ming to borrow money from Qin Dezhuang, so she didn't want to tell her family for the time being. This kind of small matter doesn't matter. Yang Ming smiled. He didn't care about the 1,000 yuan. The most important thing was that Qin Dezhuang could go on the right path in the future. He thought that Qin Dezhuang's matter was over, but he didn't expect to see him again after some time. Well, Qin Mengyan nodded. Looking at the empty house, she was silent. Then I'll go back first. You have a good rest. I'll pick you up tomorrow morning. Yang Ming looked at the time. It was getting late, so he said. Qin Mengyan stood up and looked at Yang Ming. Can you not go? Not go. Yang Ming looked at Qin Mengyan. Could it be that it was another signal? However, Qin Mengyan had such a thing going on in her family. Did she still have the mind to think about other things? Seeing Yang Ming's somewhat ambiguous eyes, Qin Mengyan blushed and explained, just simply accompany me. Don't think too much. Oh, I'm not thinking too much. Yang Ming shook his head and said seriously. Xia Shui drove the car and looked at Zhao, who was sitting in the front passenger seat. His face was still pale and she sighed helplessly. Xia Shui didn't believe in ghosts, but Zhao didn't graduate from the police academy. He was just a driver in charge of driving. Zhao, what you saw shouldn't be a ghost but someone deliberately pretending to be a ghost. Xia Shui comforted. Sister Xia, although I also told myself not to think about it, the situation at the time was really scary. Zhao took a breath and said, that person's brain was half gone. Little Zhao described the appearance of that thing in detail. Even if Xia Shui was bold, she still had goosebumps all over her body. Just as she was about to open her mouth to persuade him again, her phone rang again. She glanced at the caller ID. It was a small police number. It should be someone from the internal system. Hello, I'm Xia Shui from the criminal investigation team. Xia Shui picked up the phone. Captain Xia, I'm Zhao Dongxing from the Traffic Police West City Detachment, said the person on the other side of the phone. Captain Zhao, what's the matter? Asked Xia Shui. There was a traffic accident on Shatong Road in the west of the city, said Zhao Dongxing. Traffic accident? Captain Jing, why are you telling me this? Xia Shui was responsible for criminal investigation, not traffic. The situation is a bit strange. It's somewhat similar to the car accident of Captain Chen just now. Zhao Dongxing hesitated. According to the taxi driver behind, he saw a ghost. I think this should be a criminal case. What? Xia Shui was shocked and quickly said, you wait for me. I'll be right there. Shatong Road, right? After hanging up the phone, Xia Shui quickly turned the car around and drove to Shatong Road in the west of the city. Zhao in the car was also a little excited. Sister Xia, look, I didn't lie. At night the car was very quiet, so Zhao also heard Zhao Dongxing's words clearly. Xia Shui nodded and her expression became a little dignified. If the car accident over there was also caused by this, then this criminal was really rampant. He had just committed a crime in the south of the city, and now he went to the west of the city to commit a crime. The scene of the car accident had been isolated, and the taxi driver who witnessed it did not let him leave for the time being. The scene was very miserable. A heavy truck overturned into the roadside ditch and the driver died on the spot. Behind the truck was a taxi. The taxi driver's reaction was quite quick, so he escaped. According to the taxi driver, he saw a ghost at that time. Xia Shui found the taxi driver and asked in detail about the situation at the time. As a result, the image of the ghost described by the taxi driver was exactly the same as what Zhao saw. Could be seen that Zhao did not have an illusion, but he really saw something. Xia Shui couldn't make up her mind, so she directly called Chief Wang. Yang Ming hugged Qin Mengyan and squeezed on the small bed in her room. Why did you want to go back to heavenly earth before this? Yang Ming knew that Qin Mengyan was not asleep, so he suddenly asked. Chapter 745. You already guessed it. Why ask again? Qin Mengyan wasn't stupid. Listening to Yang Ming's tone, she knew that he probably knew what she meant. Is it okay now? Yang Ming laughed twice. At home it's better than the hotel, right? Qin Mengyan was silent for a moment and said, can we wait until my father is better? I don't have any other mood now. Okay. Yang Ming actually didn't mean to do it. After all, there were too many things today. Right, Mingyan, why did you go to Heavenly Earth today? I accompanied Zhao Cece to Heavenly Earth to find Shu Ye's agent to get a few concert tickets. And then I saw you. Qin Mengyan said, then you tell me, how many times have you gone to get a room with her without telling me? What do you mean by how many times? Yang Ming was a little dumbfounded. It was just this time and you saw it. You are sensible. Your sister Lin told me everything. Qin Mengyan snorted. Yang Ming knew Lin Jiyun's character very well. He knew that Qin Mengyan must be telling the truth. Lin Jiyun probably told everything to Qin Mengyan. However, this was also good. It was better to tell the truth of the whole thing to Qin Mengyan through Lin Jiyun's mouth than to explain it himself. They didn't speak at night and they slept in each other's arms. Early the next morning, Yang Ming called his father and told him about Qin Fei's car accident. Yang Dehai naturally attached great importance to it. He made an appointment with Yang Ming to meet at the entrance of the hospital. Yang Ming drove and went to Heavenly Earth first. Before that, Yang Ming called the chef there to prepare some breakfast. After Yang Ming went there, the underlings would naturally send it out. Then he drove to the People's Hospital. At this time, Yang Dehai's Audi A8 had stopped at the entrance of the hospital. Yang Dehai's current social status was not what it used to be. The company also specially bought an Audi A8 as an official car. After all, such a large enterprise also needed to put up a front. The one who was responsible for driving Yang Dehai was his assistant, Wang Jinda. And what happened? Is it serious? Big Ming didn't explain what was going on, so your aunt and I rushed over. Yang Dehai looked anxious, and so did Mother Yang, who was next to him. Uncle, Auntie, the doctor said that my father only injured his leg. There shouldn't be any problem. However, I'm not very clear about the current situation. Let's go and have a look, shall we? Qin Mengyan was particularly well behaved in front of Yang's father and Mother Yang. Then let's go quickly. Yang Dehai nodded and went to the hospital with Yang Ming. Wang Jinda ran over and took the breakfast from Yang Ming's hands. When they came to Qin Fei's ward, they saw Qin Fei, who was lying on the bed, comforting Mother Qin with a smile. There were also colleagues who came to visit. What's this little injury? In the past, I was shot 4 or 5 times by the drug dealer. Didn't I still survive? Qin Fei said with a smile. Bulging, you're so good. We were so worried, but you were talking and laughing. Yang Dehai saw Qin Fei's current appearance and was relieved. When Qin Fei saw Yang Dehai coming, he quickly wanted to sit up. President Yang is here. Yang Dehai was now a celebrity in Songjiang City. He was often with the provincial and municipal leaders. After all, there were only a few such high-tech companies in the country. Naturally, they were the focus of the provincial and municipal support. All right. Mother Qin was dumbfounded as she pressed Qin Fei back to the bed. What, President Yang? Your in-laws won't pick on you. Qin Fei was just showing that his body was fine, so he smiled. Old Yang, I can't get up. You won't blame me, right? Look at what you said. Yang Dehai sat on the bed opposite Qin Fei and said, but you're fine, so I'm relieved. Qin Mengyan and Yang Ming also breathed a sigh of relief. Qin Fei was no different from a normal person except for the fact that he couldn't get out of bed and walk. However, Qin Fei was stronger than the average person. Otherwise, he would be in so much pain that he grimaced. It was similar to Guan Yu's treatment during the Three Kingdoms period. Isn't this ward a bit small? Looking at the room full of people, Mother Yang felt that the room was a bit stuffy. I'm not a big leader and I don't have the treatment of a high-level official ward. Hee, Qin Fei said indifferently. Little Wang, ask President Li for a high-level official ward later. Yang Dehai whispered to Wang Jinda next to him. Now in this position, Yang Dehai gradually had the style of a leader. He was much more tactful than before. Wang Jinda nodded without batting an eyelid and turned around to leave. Now the high-level official ward didn't necessarily require an administrative level to stay in. Those big bosses could also enjoy the treatment of a high-level official ward. Yang Dehai had now become the leader of Songjiang's business community. Moreover, he was inextricably linked with Mingyang Entertainment. In Songjiang, no matter whether it was the underworld who wouldn't give him face. Wang Jinda's current identity was Yang Dehai's spokesperson. Many of the errands were done by Wang Jinda. After a while, President Li of the hospital came in. Logically, someone like Qin Fei was already considered a relatively powerful figure in Songjiang City, but President Li didn't come to visit in person. The reason was very simple. Songjiang's First People's Hospital was the best hospital in Songjiang. The patients who were usually in contact with a lot of department-level cadres were not much. A department-level cadre like Qin Fei was nothing. However, President Li had to give face to Yang Dehai in any case. Not to mention that Mingyang Heavy Industry had designated the First People's Hospital as a designated employee hospital. President Li had also heard about the background behind Yang Dehai. Among the people who dealt with the hospital, there were many who were in the underworld. After all, they had to go to the hospital if they were killed. Therefore, President Li also learned some inside information from Ho Junhan. President Yang, you didn't inform me in advance when you came. Sorry for not welcoming you. President Li was also a person who was smooth and slick. He knew who couldn't be offended. He. Yang Dehai smiled and pointed at Qin Fei to President Li. This is my in-law, Captain Qin of the police station's criminal investigation team. You have to take good care of him. President Li was stunned. He thought that Qin Fei was just a friend of Yang Dehai, but he didn't expect Qin Fei to be his in-law. His face changed and he immediately apologized to Qin Fei. I'm sorry, Captain Qin. I just got to work. I will let the people below change your ward. There's no need, right? This is quite good. Qin Fei didn't care about this. Why not? The people's police work for the people. You are injured for the people. Our duty is to save lives and help the injured. President Li said with a smile. Qin Fei also sighed. When he saw Yang Dehai during the Chinese New Year, he was still very reserved. He belonged to the kind of simple working class. He hadn't seen him for half a month, but his entire aura had changed. For Qin Fei, Yang Ming didn't want to hide it from him. He told him through Qin Mengyan that he got a lot of money from selling jade. Therefore, he wasn't surprised that Yang Dehai became the chairman. Not only did Qin Fei seem to be in good spirits, but he also wolfed down his breakfast. The breakfast brought by Yang Ming was almost finished. The people present finally felt relieved. Yang Dehai and Mother Yang also left for the company. Yang Ming and Qin Mengyan were also driven back by Qin Fei with the excuse that he wanted to sleep. Originally, the two wanted to go back to sleep and then go back to the hospital to accompany Qin Fei in the afternoon. However, when the car just stopped downstairs at Qin Mengyan's house, Yang Ming's cell phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, Yang Ming was stunned. It was actually Zhao Ying. Since the friction between Zhao Ying and Qin Mengyan, Yang Ming hadn't seen Zhao Ying. He didn't know why Zhao Ying called at this time. Answer it. Qin Mengyan saw Yang Ming in a daze and urged. Last time she felt that she misunderstood Zhao Ying. She was very embarrassed, so when Zhao Ying called, Qin Mengyan was naturally nervous. Hello, Sister Ying? Yang Ming picked up the phone. Yang Ming, are you free now? Zhao Ying's voice sounded hesitant. What's wrong, Sister Ying? What's the matter? Asked Yang Ming. My mom and dad are coming to Songjiang. Zhao Ying's voice was a little embarrassed. They will definitely want to see you after they come. What should I do? What? Your parents are coming? Yang Ming secretly complained. He was going to be a professional fake boyfriend. He thought that he was just going to deal with it, but he didn't expect them to come to his door. Tonight. Zhao Ying smiled bitterly. They didn't tell me anything first. They just called and told me that the plane ticket had been booked. I will be boarding soon. So it's like this? Yang Ming's gaze looked at Qin Mengyan. After all, Qin Mengyan was next to him. Yang Ming didn't dare to promise anything. Qin Mengyan had a look of "don't look at me" and deliberately turned her face away. Yang Ming was helpless for a while. What do you need me to do? I don't know. Why don't you just tell them directly? I don't want to trouble you anymore. Zhao Ying was also very embarrassed. You go and help Sister Ying. Qin Mengyan knew that she was in the wrong last time, so she wanted to make up for Zhao Ying as much as possible. After thinking about it, she said, anyway, her parents can't always be here. Qin Mengyan is also next to you? Zhao Ying was embarrassed. She didn't expect Yang Ming to have other people around him. And she is also here. Yang Ming said half a sentence and the phone was snatched by Qin Mengyan. Then she said, Sister Ying, it's me, Mengyan. Zhao Ying stuttered. Qin Mengyan's voice was soft just now, so Zhao Ying didn't hear what she said. However, last time Qin Mengyan was furious and scared her. She didn't expect that Qin Mengyan, who was usually quiet, would be so angry because of Yang Ming. Chapter 746. Do you think Zhao Ying is lying to us? Zhao Ying's mother, Wang Guifan, who was sitting on the plane, said to Zhao Dequan's father, Zhao Dequan, who was next to her. You are so suspicious. This time, as a thank you for attending the wedding of your third aunt's daughter, you had to go to Songjiang first, and then take the bus to Mount Jing? Isn't this tormenting me? You know that my legs are not very good. Zhao Dequan complained. What do you know? You don't know anything. Wang Guifan glared and said, You look at my third aunt's family. How poor is she? Ever since my cousin got a boyfriend, the guy has taken care of everything. My third aunt is a housewife. She didn't even want to clean the toilet. What does she know? Now she is actually a department manager. My uncle's husband was originally a small stall selling breakfast. You see, in less than a year he opened a restaurant. Why are you comparing this with others? Our family is not in a difficult situation. Zhao Dequan said indifferently. Not in a difficult situation? Not in a difficult situation? Wang Guifan frowned and began to complain. Although I wasn't the most beautiful girl in school, I was still the most beautiful girl in school. There were a lot of people chasing after me. Why did I fall for an honest intellectual like you? I have been earning a dead salary for a lifetime. How many days of happiness have I enjoyed? Other women at my age go out for beauty and fitness all day long. They drink tea and chat with their friends, but can I do it? You look at Li Xiaoyu. She didn't look as good as me in the past. Now how good is her maintenance? It's like she is more than 10 years younger than me. For Wang Guifan's nagging, Zhao Dequan didn't dare to refute. This was also what he felt most sorry for his wife in his life. In the past there were many people who pursued Wang Guifan. There were even more who had a good impression of her. There were at least 50 if not 30. But Zhao Dequan finally got the beauty. Love in that era had no benefits or disadvantages. It was completely romantic. Wang Guifan wouldn't think too much about the future. But now, seeing that other people had private cars and went to the underground restaurant and resort every few days, Zhao Dequan's heart didn't feel good. Although he didn't care much about these things, he knew that Wang Guifan liked them. Every time she talked about these things with her colleagues and acquaintances in the neighborhood, she would always be envious when she got home. Hey, I'm sorry. In addition to saying sorry, Zhao Dequan had nothing else to say. Forget it. I've been like this for the rest of my life. But our Ying is still young. She's still growing. She might think that love is more important than bread now, but in the future she will think that love is nothing compared to bread. Wang Guifan said, Look at my cousin. She's not even as pretty as our Ying. She married a rich man's son. She may not be happy. Didn't your aunt say that the boy often spends his time outside? Zhao Dequan shook his head. How can this kind of marriage be reliable? How do you know he's unreliable? How many men weren't unfaithful? I don't believe that if you, Zhao Dequan, are rich you won't have these crooked thoughts? Wang Guifan snorted. If you say no now it's because you don't have money. When you have money you won't think so. Although Zhao Dequan felt guilty to Wang Guifan, when he heard Wang Guifan say so, he was a little annoyed. According to what you said, isn't it more profitable to let our daughter be a mistress? If there is a suitable one, then it is also a way out. Wang Guifan snorted. It was no wonder that Wang Guifan's thoughts were so extreme. When people reached this age they had suffered for most of their lives. Every day they were calculative for money. They lived a really unhappy life. It wasn't cool at all. She didn't want Zhao Ying to repeat her mistakes. Moreover, she also wanted to live comfortably for the rest of her life. This third aunt, she had no contact with her. But a while ago when she heard that her cousin had become a phoenix, Wang Guifan became enthusiastic. Zhao Dequan's mouth moved and finally he sighed helplessly. He knew that Wang Guifan had suffered too much. It was normal to have such thoughts. You say, what about the son of Boss Lu in our community? Wang Guifan turned to Zhao Dequan. During the Chinese New Year our Ying came back. Boss Lu's son Lu Shihao saw her. He liked her at first glance. Who the hell is Lu Shihao? He is a donkey in the society. Do you dare to introduce such a person to our daughter? Zhao Dequan heard that Wang Guifan's words were getting more and more outrageous. He couldn't help but be angry. That kid isn't a good thing at first glance. He hangs out with a group of hooligans all day long. He fights and flirts with girls, young people. It is normal to behave erratically. It will be better in the future, said Wang Guifan. Hey, that kid has never been married. He divorced in 2 months. Do you want to kill Ying? Zhao Dequan waved his hand. What's wrong with divorce? Didn't the woman get more than 1 million yuan as compensation for the loss of youth? Wang Guifan snorted and said, moreover, this time Boss Lu said that as long as our Yingying nodded, he would buy a house for Yingying and a car, all in Yingying's name. When she comes back to L City she can go to work in his company. She doesn't have to do anything. It is not a problem to earn more than 100,000 yuan a year. Are you thinking about money? Zhao Dequan finally couldn't listen anymore. He glared and shouted. You are so capable, right? That's fine. If you have the ability, buy me a car. Doesn't have to be too good. Just tens of thousands will do. I want to be more comfortable for the rest of my life. Wang Guifan said without showing weakness. Zhao Dequan pouted. In the end he didn't say anything. He had to hang his head and sigh. Although Zhao Ying had a boyfriend, Wang Guifan didn't see it with her own eyes. She didn't believe it. The most important thing was that she wanted to see what the boyfriend's family background was like. If it was not good, she had to pull Zhao Ying back and let her go on a blind date with Boss Lu's son Lu Shihao. Sister Ying, do you want to borrow Yang Ming? Qin Mengyan smiled and said, no problem. I will send him to you in a while. Then thank you so much. Zhao Ying didn't know how to open her mouth. She didn't expect Qin Mengyan to agree so readily, so she quickly said gratefully. Otherwise she really didn't know how to deal with it. Zhao Ying knew her mother's snobbishness very well. She didn't know how to deal with it. Seeing that Qin Mengyan had no objection, she was relieved. Let's deal with the current situation first. Originally, she knew that her mother and father were going to attend the wedding, but she didn't expect them to take a detour to Songjiang first. Obviously there was a direct flight to Mount Jing, but they had to take a bus to Donghai first and then take a bus to Mount Jing. Yang Ming listened to Qin Mengyan's words and he was somewhat helpless. He felt that something was wrong, so he pretended to be dissatisfied. I'm not a thing. Why are you borrowing me? Yes, you're not a thing, Qin Mengyan said with a smile. Yang Ming was stunned, and then he knew that he had fallen into the pit that he had dug himself. When did Qin Mengyan become so eloquent? But this time don't make it real. Qin Mengyan had obviously gotten some information from Lin Jiun. Yang Ming smiled awkwardly, but Qin Mengyan had already opened the door and jumped out. I'm going back first. You don't have to send me off. You go to Sister Ying. Don't make her anxious. Yang Ming nodded and watched Qin Mengyan enter the unit door. Then he tracked her with his special ability until she used the key to open the door and enter the house. Then he started the car and left. Since the last incident with Qin Dezhuang, Yang Ming had become cautious. Qin Fei's position was very easy to offend people. Therefore Yang Ming was afraid that someone would retaliate against Qin Mengyan. Manager, I received 2 bouquets of roses today. The secretary walked into Sun Jie's office with the roses, and then said, do you still want to throw away the cards and put the flowers in? Sun Jie was stunned and then a smile crossed her mouth. She said to the secretary, show me the cards. Although the secretary felt a little strange in her heart why the manager would look at the cards today, she didn't say anything. She took out the cards and handed them to Sun Jie. Sun Jie first looked at the signature on the top card, and then threw the card into the shredder next to her. He picked up the card below. There was no signature on the card, but Sun Jie had already guessed who sent it. She glanced at the words on the card and couldn't help but laugh. This guy, I don't know where he copied it from. She shook her head and wanted to throw away the card, but she hesitated and put it in the drawer. The secretary looked at Sun Jie's smiling face and was very puzzled. She had never seen the manager so happy after receiving the flowers. He was usually very indifferent. Who was the one who sent her these flowers? It was just that there was no signature on it, so the secretary could only use her imagination. At the same time, Wang Xiaoyan was holding a large bouquet of roses in exasperation. She gritted her teeth and looked at the sweet words written on the card and the flowers. She couldn't wait to bite the bouquet of flowers. This Yang Ming, what the hell does he want to do? Isn't it over yet? Wang Xiaoyan looked at the signature on the card and she couldn't help but vent her anger. Originally you knew not to leave your name. Now you have started to sign your name. You are even more unscrupulous. Wang Xiaoyan wanted to throw away the card, but after thinking for a long time, she decided to keep it and show it to Zhao Ying as evidence. As for the bouquet of roses, it was thrown aside by Wang Xiaoyan. Every morning flowers were sent. Wang Xiaoyan was used to it and there was no need to be angry with the person who sent the flowers. Moreover, these people worked hard to send the flowers, so there was no need to make things difficult for them. Wang Xiaoyan wanted to refuse, but she thought that if she didn't sign for it, the flower delivery person would have made a wasted trip, so she had to sign for it. Chapter 747. After not seeing each other for a long time, Zhao Ying became more and more beautiful and refined. He couldn't see that she had been a teacher at all. Walking together with Yang Ming looked like a young man who had stepped into society, while Zhao Ying was more like a college student. Sister Ying. Yang Ming saw her from afar. He opened the car window and shouted to Zhao Ying. Yang Ming. You came so soon? I just came out. Zhao Ying ran 2 steps and came to the gate of the school. Because it was still a holiday, the school gate was not open and the car couldn't drive in. I just sent Meng Yan home. It's not too far from here. There is no traffic jam on the road at this time. Yang Ming said, get in the car. You didn't even bring a hat and scarf. Aren't you afraid of the cold? Who said I didn't bring it? Zhao Ying opened the zipper of her down jacket, revealing the scarf tied inside. Then she smiled and said, as for the hat, isn't there one behind the down jacket? Yang Ming looked at Zhao Ying, who looked like a little girl. He couldn't help but shake his head. The Zhao Ying in his memory as a teacher was gradually blurred. Now Zhao Ying was the real image of the sister next door. Without the barrier of their teacher and student identities, the two of them chatted and joked more naturally. Sister Ying, have you considered really dating a boyfriend? Yang Ming started the car and pretended to ask casually. After all, it's not a long-term solution to hide it. To be honest, Yang Ming didn't have no feelings for Zhao Ying. That night was still fresh in his memory. Yang Ming's feelings for Zhao Ying at that time were no less than Qin Mengyan. However, Zhao Ying rejected him rationally, so Yang Ming didn't dare to go further. He could only suppress this feeling in the bottom of his heart. When Zhao Ying heard Yang Ming's words, she was obviously stunned. Then she said somewhat unnaturally, why do you say that? Nothing, I just feel that you haven't been in love yet. Is there something wrong with your heart? Yang Ming naturally wouldn't tell the truth, so he could only make things up. You are the abnormal one. Zhao Ying said angrily, how am I abnormal? I think it's a little. Yang Ming continued, at that time I wanted to kiss you. Why did you refuse? Today the reason why Yang Ming said so many ambiguous words was actually because of Wang Xiaoyan's words, which made Yang Ming's heart come alive again. Zhao Ying didn't expect that Yang Ming would suddenly mention that matter. Her face suddenly turned red. This was one of the things that Zhao Ying regretted the most so far. The hesitation at the beginning had caused her to be hesitant now. It was if I could be braver at the beginning and not think about the secular concept. Then the cart should be reversed. That day it shouldn't be Qin Mengyan who was angry with me, but it should be me who was angry with Qin Mengyan. However, then again Zhao Ying was just thinking about it. She couldn't really do it. At the beginning I was your teacher. How can you be like this? And are you worthy of Qin Mengyan? Zhao Ying calmed down her emotions and said. At the beginning? Yang Ming's heart moved. What does Zhao Ying mean by at the beginning? Is it okay now that we don't have that kind of teacher-student relationship? Yang Ming pretended to focus on driving and secretly used his special ability to look at Zhao Ying's expression. When he saw that Zhao Ying didn't have any special expression, he couldn't help but be disappointed. Maybe I think too much? In fact, Zhao Ying was also pretending to be calm. It should be something that had already passed and it wouldn't happen a second time. But what did the kiss when we were rock climbing mean? Unintentional? Intentional? Perhaps, after that unintentional kiss, something could happen again, but it was interrupted by the arrival of Qin Mengyan. Zhao Ying could only lament silently as the will of the heavens was like this. When they were on the highway this time, Yang Ming learned to be smart. He first observed the road conditions and the weather to avoid any serial traffic collisions. Fortunately, the sky was clear today and there weren't many cars. What did you tell your mother about me before? Don't let the cat out of the bag. Yang Ming asked. I just said that you are my college classmate. Zhao Ying said, it shouldn't be exposed. Anyway, you are indeed a student of Songjiang Industry University. Besides, we are quite familiar with each other. That's true, but what did you say about my age? Yang Ming nodded. You're the same age as me. Anyway, you don't look younger than me. Zhao Ying smiled and said, your mouth is usually very talkative. I believe you will be able to settle my mother. It's easy to settle. I'm just afraid that your mother will like me and force me to be her real son-in-law. What should I do then? Yang Ming said shamelessly. Oh, my mother is very picky. When she said this, Zhao Ying was a little guilty. She knew her mother's character very well. She was a serious materialistic person. When she saw Yang Ming's car, she would probably agree without hesitation. The plane landed at Donghai International Airport. Zhao Dequan and Wang Guifan dragged their suitcases out of the domestic arrival exit. That woman. Don't go. A loud shout came over. Wang Guifan and Zhao Dequan were both stunned, but they didn't think that it was calling them. In Donghai they didn't know many people. I'm calling you. Didn't you hear me? Wang Guifan took another 2 steps and was pulled from behind. Wang Guifan was stunned. She turned around and saw a young man with a cigarette in his mouth pulling her luggage. What are you doing? Wang Guifan glared and said with some displeasure. Although this young man didn't look like a good person, Wang Guifan didn't believe that he could do anything to her in broad daylight. What are you doing? You scratched my car. Do you want to leave? The young man pointed to the black car behind him and said with a grin. I scratched your car? When did I scratch it? Why didn't I know? Wang Guifan thought, did I encounter a liar? Okay, don't say that I am framing you. The young man pulled Wang Guifan's luggage and walked to the back. Wang Guifan was not as strong as him, so she could only be dragged by him. Look at it yourself. The young man pointed to a scratch on the car and said angrily. Why did you say that I scratched it? Why didn't I know? When Wang Guifan saw the car, she knew that it wasn't cheap. This kind of car, how much would it cost to scratch a piece of paint? Even if she scratched it, how would she admit it? The young man didn't answer. He put Wang Guifan's luggage on the ground and then said, whether it is or not, isn't it clear? When Wang Guifan saw it, she was dumbfounded. Sure enough, the height of her luggage was the same as the scratch on the car. Moreover, on the outside of the luggage parallel to the scratch, there was a protruding iron buckle. Looking carefully, there were some paint chips on the iron buckle. This time she couldn't deny it even if she didn't want to. The facts were in front of her and she couldn't argue. We will pay for it. Zhao Dequan also understood at the moment. It wasn't that the other person deliberately blackmailed them, but they inadvertently scratched the other person's car. I don't know. I have to call and ask, but without 30 or 50,000 yuan, it can't be done, said the young man. What? 30 or 50,000 yuan? Are you blackmailing me? When Wang Guifan heard it, she was immediately unwilling. She wasn't a 1-year-old child. Scratching the paint for 30 or 50,000 yuan. Usually, when she bought groceries downstairs, she heard acquaintances who had cars in the community say that scratching the car was only a matter of 1 or 200 yuan. This guy asked for 30 or 50,000 yuan. Look clearly. This is a Rolls-Royce Phantom. The young man snorted and said, this car has been scratched. It needs to be sent back to Beijing for the whole car to be painted. It can't be painted here. 30 or 50,000 yuan is a minimum. If our boss knows that his car is scratched, he might scold me. Wang Guifan had heard of Rolls-Royce and knew that this was the world's top luxury car. She couldn't help but be stunned, but she didn't expect that she would inadvertently scratch such a good car. But even if it was a good car, Wang Guifan didn't think it was expensive. Besides painting, what kind of car didn't need to be painted? Was there a difference in paint? She determined that the person in front of her wanted to blackmail her, so she said, okay, I also understand what you think. Don't you just want more money? Well, I will give you 200 yuan and this matter will end. Otherwise, I will call the police to see who is the right person. 200? What an international joke. The young man snorted and said, call the police? Well, you broke my things and didn't compensate me. Let's see what the police will say. Who is afraid of who? Wang Guifan thought that the young man was deliberately stubborn and she was afraid. She took out her mobile phone and dialed the police number. Hello, I want to call the police. Yes, I am at the international airport. When I came out, I accidentally scratched a car. As a result, the driver of the car asked me for 30 or 50,000 yuan compensation. I suspect that he is blackmailing me. Well, then I will wait for you. After the phone call, Wang Guifan looked at the young man very proudly and said, the police said that you may be a blackmailer. If you know what's good for you, then quickly drive the car away. Otherwise, you will be in trouble. I am a blackmailer? Ah, what a joke. Then you wait. I will see if you can't compensate me when the police come. The young man snorted and said. Not long after, a police car came. The speed of the police in the provincial capital was still very fast. There was a police station near the airport. Moreover, the international airport was a channel for international friends to come and go. The strength of cracking down on these blackmailer scams was relatively greater. Are you the ones who called the police? A policeman jumped out of the car and asked Wang Guifan. It's me. It's me. Police comrade, look. It's such a small scratch. Wang Guifan pointed to the scratch on the car and said. The policeman naturally knew the Rolls-Royce and knew the value of the car, so at the moment he really had nothing to say. For this kind of top luxury car it was unknown how much the painting cost, but if the original painting was done by the factory it was definitely not cheap. Chapter 748. This. The police officer hesitated for a moment, then said, Madam, I think you should negotiate first. First, call the car's after-sales service and ask how much the paint will cost. With the price clearly stated, no one will lose out, right? Then call. Wang Guifan was sure that the person in front of her wanted to blackmail her, so she said without hesitation, Let's call. Who is afraid of who? The young man snorted. The police are here. Are you still afraid that you will run away? Wang Guifan was afraid that the young man would cheat, so she called 114 and asked for the phone number of the Rolls-Royce after-sales service. She called and asked about the paint. The result was similar to what the young man said. The paint of the car was specially treated. It couldn't be sprayed in other places. It could only be painted by the original factory. When Wang Guifan inquired about the price given by the other side shocked her. Depending on the degree of scratching and whether the car body was damaged or not, it would cost 50,000 to 100,000 yuan for maintenance. The labor costs were calculated separately. I don't care how much you want. This scratch is not big. Let's just calculate it according to the minimum 50,000 yuan. The young man said, Is my price fair? In fact, the young man's price seemed fair, but in fact he wanted to get some benefits for himself. Although the car was damaged and the boss may scold him when he went back, then again he could say that he didn't know who scratched the car on the side of the road. 50,000 yuan? Wang Guifan didn't want to pay. How many years would it take for her to save 50,000 yuan? How could she just give it away for nothing? She wasn't willing, so she said, Now the car is insured, right? Isn't it compulsory traffic insurance? That is compulsory traffic insurance. If I hit you, the insurance company will pay you, but not me. The young man said, Hurry up and withdraw the money. I still have something to do. 50,000 yuan is too much. Or, can it be less? Zhao Dequan didn't speak for a long time, but he had to speak now. After all, he was a man. Some things were more convenient to communicate, unlike Wang Guifan, who was calculative. What is less? This is already less enough. The young man was impatient and said, Hurry up and pay the money. Otherwise the police comrades are here. If you destroy other people's property, they can sue you in court. No one was willing to get involved in this kind of dispute. The police officer who came was the same. After a few words of mediation, he made an excuse and left in a hurry. After all, this kind of civil dispute could only be mediated. If it couldn't be mediated, then whoever wanted to sue could sue. It wasn't something he could control. I don't have money, but I do have a life. What do you want? Seeing that the young man's tone had become aggressive, Wang Guifan was not a kind person. This kind of housewife who struggled at the bottom of society was the most unreasonable. Do you think I can't control you? The young man refused to back down. I can kill you, do you believe me? If you have the guts, then kill me. Wang Guifan usually said such ruthless words. How could she take it seriously? You're not going to compensate me? Why are you still calling me? The young man wanted to get some extra income, but at this moment he was really angry because of Wang Guifan, so he didn't care about the money. He just wanted to make things worse. He took out his phone and dialed a number. Oh, I'm Li Gu. You bring some people over. Damn, there is a woman who scratched the boss's car, and she still wants to be unreasonable with me. After the phone call, the young man looked at Wang Guifan and said, You have two choices. One is to pay the money happily and you leave. The other is that you wait here. When my people come, it won't be so easy to talk to them. Are you pretending to be ignorant with me? I've seen a lot of you like this. I'm here today. What can you do to me? If you have the ability, then kill me. Wang Guifan thought he was just scaring people, so she wasn't afraid. The young man didn't speak. He stood there calmly looking at Wang Guifan and Zhao Dequan. He didn't let them have a chance to slip away. Guifan, this is our fault after all. Can't we solve it peacefully? Don't make things worse. We are not familiar with this place. It's better not to cause trouble. Zhao Dequan advised. Or let's call Yingying and ask her to send the money? What are you afraid of? You are the only one who is timid. Wang Guifan snorted. How many years has Yingying been working? She didn't ask for money from her family when she went to school. How could she have money? Besides, what do you mean by not familiar with this place? How could I have forgotten about that? Isn't my third aunt's son-in-law's family very powerful in this area? AI. Zhao Dequan shook his head. My wife is really too snobbish. She likes to show off when she has a little ability. She doesn't care whether she is familiar with others or not. She hasn't even met them yet and she is already asking for help? Wang Guifan seemed to have taken a stimulant. Thinking of this, she picked up the phone, opened the phone book, took Zhao Dequan's mobile phone and dialed the number. Oh. Is it the third aunt? I am Guifan. Wang Guifan said with a smile. It's Guifan. Look at you. Your child is getting married. You came all the way here. I'm really sorry. Have you arrived? Do you want me to find someone to send a car to pick you up? Said Wang Guifan's third aunt. I just arrived at the airport. I encountered some trouble. Wang Guifan said, I heard that my cousin-in-law's family is very powerful in this area. So I called you. What's the matter? Wang Guifan's third aunt said lightly, but the arrogance in her tone couldn't be concealed. Wang Guifan sighed. People are really different now. How long had it been since that third aunt, who was so timid and insignificant, become so arrogant in such a short period of time? This is the case. I accidentally scratched someone's car at the airport, but that person wants me to pay 50,000 yuan, said Wang Guifan. Oh, what car? Asked the third aunt. It's called a Rolls-Royce Phantom, said Wang Guifan. Wang Guifan's third aunt said faintly, that's a bit much. So you give the phone to him. I will talk to him. When Wang Guifan heard that there was a chance, she was overjoyed. She immediately became arrogant and handed the phone to the young man. Pick up the phone. The young man snorted. Apparently he didn't take it seriously. Well, in Donghai, who could be more powerful than the boss? Hello. The young man picked up the phone. Who are you? Asked Wang Guifan's third aunt. Who are you? The young man was somewhat unwilling. You asked who I am when you came up. You haven't said who you are yet. I am a member of the Sui family of Mount Jing. The person who called me is my niece. Before Wang Guifan's third aunt finished speaking, she was interrupted by the young man. What's wrong with the Sui family of Mount Jing? You don't want to pay for scratching the car? The young man said disdainfully. Who are you? When Wang Guifan's third aunt heard the other party's tone, she was annoyed and asked coldly. Me. My name is Li Gu, but my boss is Sun Hongjun. Li Gu said indifferently. Wang Guifan's third aunt immediately became silent. After a long while she said, You return the phone to her. Wang Guifan's third aunt had also mingled in the upper class for more than half a year. Naturally, she knew who Sun Hongjun was. The Sun family in Donghai was similar to the Sui family in Mount Jing. Oh. Wang Guifan didn't know the result of the exchange. She thought that Li Gu gave in and quickly took the phone. Compensate him with the money, said the person on the other side of the phone. Oh. Wang Guifan was stunned. After a long time she remembered and asked, why? However, the phone had been hung up. Wang Guifan was not a fool. Her third aunt didn't care about this matter. It meant that the other party was someone she didn't want to provoke, or she couldn't afford to provoke. Thinking of this, Wang Guifan couldn't help but feel a little dejected. The person that the third aunt couldn't afford to provoke, she couldn't afford to provoke. Now what should I do with the 50,000 yuan? At this time the people called by the young man had arrived. 6 or 7 men in black came down from the 2 Jiangnan Ruifeng commercial vehicles and gathered here. Looking at this situation, Wang Guifan was a little dumbfounded. She thought that the young man was just scaring people, but now it seemed that these people were not good people. Could they be gang members? Zhao Dequan also saw the situation in front of him and quickly said to Wang Guifan, let's compensate. But, Where do we have the money now? The deposit book is at home and the money in the bank card is not enough. Wang Guifan panicked at the moment. A person with her character was usually rude to people who were not as good as her. Once she encountered a strong person, she was dumbfounded. What's the matter? Didn't they say that they would arrive at 4:20? Xiaoying looked at her watch and then said anxiously, "It's almost 5 o'clock. Why haven't they come out yet? I didn't see the notice of a delayed flight." "I said to wait, but you said that it was cold in the car." Yang Ming shrugged and said, "Could it be that they took a detour? Then let's go down and take a look." Xiaoying nodded. In fact, the reason why Xiaoying did not get out of the car was that she was very dissatisfied with her parents' sudden attack. Although she also came to pick them up, she wanted to express her protest. The two locked the car and walked to the exit of the domestic arrival. Xiaoying was still very familiar with her parents. She saw them at a glance, but they were surrounded by a group of people. "Dad, Mom." Xiaoying didn't know what was going on and quickly ran over. Yang Ming at this moment probably guessed that the two people surrounded in the middle were Zhao Ying's parents. "Ying, you are here?" Zhao Dequan smiled bitterly. At this moment, it was better not to ask his daughter to participate. "Dad, Mom, what's the matter? What are these people doing?" Zhao Ying looked at the black shirt people around her with unkind eyes. "Just in time, your family is here." Li Gu said, "Miss, your mother scratched my car. You pay for her." Chapter 749. Because there were so many people, Li Gu didn't notice Yang Ming, who followed Zhao Ying. He even said, "But? Your mother doesn't look good, but you are quite pretty." Li Ji was just trying to take advantage of her, but he didn't want to do anything else. However, the people he called over were a little unruly. One of them, a dark-faced man, said, "Why don't you accompany us and have fun? We'll pay for you. What do you think?" Li Gu usually followed Sun Hongjun. Naturally, it was impossible for him to do anything that wasn't serious. He was arrogant, but if he went overboard, Sun Hongjun would definitely not let him go. But these people under him were a bit unscrupulous. Although these people were working for the Sun family, they were directly managed by the Tian family. Sun Hongjun couldn't interfere too much. However, Li Gu wouldn't do something overboard, but it didn't mean that he would stop others from doing these things. Li Gu didn't vent his anger, so he was naturally happy to watch the fun. When Yang Ming heard the black-faced man's words, he was suddenly a little unhappy. Not to mention his special feelings for Zhao Ying, just based on the sibling relationship, Yang Ming wouldn't allow others to make fun of Zhao Ying. Otherwise, Yang Ming wouldn't have messed with that idiot Jin gang so badly. "Keep the money for your mother to have fun." Yang Ming naturally knew Li Gu, but he didn't greet him. He was just Sun Hongjuan's driver. Yang Ming didn't need to give him any face. Listening to Yang Ming's sudden stiff words, the black-faced man was stunned. His face suddenly became darker. He reached out to grab Yang Ming's collar. "Which fucking bird's nest did you crawl out from?" When Li Gu saw Yang Ming, his face suddenly changed and his heart tightened. How could Li Gu not know the relationship between Yang Ming and the Sun family? When he heard Yang Ming's words, he understood where Yang Ming stood. Li Ji didn't need to give face to the Sui family of Mount Jing, but Yang Ming's face. This was no longer a matter of giving face or not. Yang Ming might not give him any face. He was not qualified to ask for face from Yang Ming. It had to be said that many of the drivers who drove for leaders or CEOs were the best at changing their expressions. They would speak to whoever they met. Li Ji's face immediately changed from arrogance to humility. "Brother Yang Yu, what happened?" Yang Ming coldly glanced at the people nearby and said, "Are these the bodyguards for my guest? Who is this?" The dark-faced man didn't recognize Yang Ming. Although he heard Li Ji call him Brother Yang, he wasn't very convinced and asked Li Ji. "The boss's son-in-law." Li Ji didn't dare to speak loudly. He just whispered in the dark-faced man's ear. "Which boss?" The dark-faced man was stunned. "How many bosses do I have?" Li Ji glanced at him and whispered, "If you don't want to die, keep your mouth shut." The dark-faced man finally reacted. "The boss is Sun Hongjun and Yang Ming, isn't that the Sun family's Miss Sun Jiez?" "Sorry, Brother Yang, misunderstanding." "It's a misunderstanding." Li Ji quickly smiled and said, This auntie accidentally scratched my car. We were just discussing what to do." Although Li Ji claimed that it was a misunderstanding, he didn't dare to conceal the matter just now. He also understood that this matter couldn't be concealed. Yang Ming would know everything when he asked the people over there. At that time he would fabricate and leave a bad impression on Yang Ming. If Yang Ming said bad things about him in front of Sun Hongjun, then he would be completely finished. Yang Ming glanced at the scratches on the car, then took out the phone and dialed Sun Hongjun's number. "Ho, Uncle Sun. I'm Yang Ming. This is the case. I met your driver Li Ji at the airport," said Yang Ming. "Did this kid offend you?" Sun Hongjun knew that Li Ji was a person who bullied others because of his master's power. Moreover, Yang Ming wouldn't call him just because he saw Li Ji. Li Ji wasn't an important person. "No, it's just that my friend scratched his car, your Rolls-Royce. I'm just telling you. Do you want me to fix it for you?" Yang Ming smiled. "You kid, you're asking for a scolding. If it's scratched, then it's scratched." Sun Hongjun smiled and said, "Is that it?" "That's it." Yang Ming said, "Tell me next time when you smash the car." After Sun Hongjun knew the identity of Yang Ming, he talked to Yang Ming more casually. He didn't have the attitude of suppressing Yang Ming as an elder. "That's fine. I didn't bring a hammer today. I really have to try how it feels to smash a Rolls-Royce another day." Yang Ming smiled and said, "I have heard of smashing a Mercedes-Benz or a BMW, but I have never seen smashing a Rolls-Royce. You have friends around you, so I won't look for you. Let's meet another day. I have something to look for you." Sun Hongjun put away his smile and talked about business. "Okay, I'm very busy these days. I will come to Donghai with Sun Jia another day." Yang Ming said, "I heard that you sent flowers to little Jia? He not bad." Sun Hongjun heard Yang Ming mention his daughter and couldn't help but make a joke. He. In front of Zhao Ying's parents, Yang Ming couldn't say much, so he hung up the phone. "Your boss asked me to smash the car. You may be able to drive a better car." Yang Ming patted Li Ji's shoulder and didn't make it difficult for him. It seemed that the fault was with Zhao Ying's family. Yang Ming didn't want to bully too much. Li Gus smiled awkwardly and said, "If Brother Yang wants to smash it, then who dares to say no? I'm just kidding." Yang Ming waved his hand and said, "Is it okay? If it's okay, take your people and leave. I don't need a bodyguard here." It's okay. Brother Yang, do you need me to send you?" Li Gus saw that Yang Ming didn't say anything bad about him, so he was very grateful. "No need. I drove here," Yang Ming said with some impatience. "That's fine. I will go first." Li Gus saw that Yang Ming was a little unhappy. He quickly winked at the black-faced macho man and quickly left the scene. He didn't even drive the car. He planned to wait for Yang Ming to go away before he came back to drive. Wang Guifan was dumbfounded at the moment. The expression on her face was surprised, envious, but more than that, it was joy. Even if she was stupid, she could guess that the person in front of her was Zhao Ying's boyfriend. Zhao Ying said that her boyfriend was called Yang Ming. Just now, Li Gu called him Brother Yang, so it was undoubtedly him. Wang Guifan suddenly had the feeling of a daughter-in-law who had been waiting for many years to become a mother-in-law. It was as if she was sitting on a helicopter and her identity was instantly raised. "My third aunt and I boasted about how powerful the Sui family is. Isn't there something that can't be settled here? What about Yang Ming?" As soon as he came over, he didn't wait to do anything. The originally arrogant Li Gu suddenly became as humble as a toad. Moreover, Wang Guifan also heard that Yang Ming seemed to be very familiar with Li Ji's boss. It was a real kind of familiarity. Although he called the other party Uncle Sun, his tone was a kind of peaceful and equal relationship. What did this mean? It was self-evident that her son-in-law's power here was even greater than the Sui family. In her opinion, the matter that the Sui family couldn't settle, Yang Ming solved it easily. That was true strength. She originally planned to call her daughter back and introduce her to Boss Lu's son, but at the moment she threw it out of the window. She was afraid that Yang Ming would not like her daughter. "You're Yang Ming. I often hear Ying mention you." Wang Guifan didn't dare to be too arrogant and said to Yang Ming kindly. "Pony." Yang Ming didn't know Wang Guifan's nature, so he politely bowed to her. Then he said to Zhao Ying's father, "Hello, Uncle Zhao." Good. Although Zhao Dequan wasn't a snobbish person, he was happy to see Yang Ming's ability. However, he was also a little worried. He didn't know how bad his wife would be in the future. He had a headache just thinking about it. Zhao Ying was very familiar with her mother's character. She couldn't help but frown. She didn't know how Yang Ming could have a relationship with the forces of Donghai. She originally thought that Yang Ming just had some money, but now it seemed that this wasn't the case. Suddenly, Zhao Ying found that she knew too little about Yang Ming. Just like the time when she went to the temple fair, Yang Ming could always give her some surprises. In that memory there was some ignorant, simple and even hateful young man. Now she couldn't see through him. Zhao Ying didn't know if this was good or bad. Is he still the man who made my heart beat? Zhao Ying looked at Yang Ming next to her and recalled the bits and pieces of this time. She nodded affirmatively in her heart. Yes. However, at this time Yang Ming made her feel very distant. There was an unreal sense of existence. Seeing Yang Ming's car, Wang Guifen's eyes were even brighter. She still recognized the BMW logo. Perhaps many people didn't know the brands of Rolls-Royce, Lincoln and Cadillac, but they knew BMW and Mercedes-Benz. Because there was a saying, drive a BMW, ride a Mercedes-Benz. It showed the position of BMW and Mercedes-Benz in the minds of the public. After getting in the car, Wang Guifen began to talk more. Yang Ming, do you and Yingying usually live together? Zhao Dequan listened to Wang Guifen's words and almost vomited blood. How can you ask this kind of thing casually? Young people also have their privacy. However, the words had already been said. It was too late to stop it. Yang Ming was stunned. He thought that Wang Guifen was testing him. He quickly said, no, we have a dormitory at school. Yang Ming didn't know what Wang Guifen meant, but Zhao Ying knew. She couldn't help but be a little annoyed. Why is my mother like this? So, where did that kind and hard-working mother of his go? Okay, then it's settled. Seeing that this prospective son-in-law was so understanding, Wang Guifen couldn't help but be happy. Her desire swelled and she blurted out, then when you have a house, do you still need to buy a car? Isn't it very convenient for you to pick up Yingying all day long? What if you don't have time and Yingying, a girl, is in danger when she goes back? Don't you think I am right? I heard that the bigger the city, the worse the security. Those criminals are willing to come. Speaking of roaming around, Yang Ming really believed that it was true. Wasn't Ji Shuixing, whom he met with Zhao Ying, a criminal? Therefore Wang Guifen wasn't wrong. He even bought a house, so he didn't lack a car. Yang Ming simply nodded and said, no problem. Auntie, do you want to choose one together? Yang Ming was helpless, so he said such a joke. He didn't expect Wang Guifen to believe it. Really? It just so happens that I was a driver in a large group in my early years. I still have a driver's license. I don't need a good car. You just need to buy a good one for Yingying. For my car, just buy it with the small change. A car that costs tens of thousands is fine. Yang Ming was almost amused, but because of Zhao Ying's face he could only continue. It doesn't matter. You can buy a better one. Then buy a domestic BMW? I heard that it is only more than 300,000. Wang Guifen was so excited that her voice changed. It was no wonder that Wang Guifen would lose her composure. Although Wang Guifen was snobbish, she wasn't a fool. It was impossible that she couldn't understand the good words. However, Wang Guifen was so excited today that she lost her mind and spoke without thinking. Moreover, Wang Guifen felt that her daughter was so beautiful. He should charm Yang Ming. If Zhao Ying was just an ordinary friend of Yang Ming, or if Yang Ming didn't have a good impression of her, perhaps Yang Ming would have already turned hostile. However, at this moment Yang Ming felt that buying things for Zhao Ying was a must. It was just that this method made him feel a little uncomfortable. Okay. Yang Ming was already numb. In his opinion, the price of the car didn't matter, so since he agreed, it was the same to buy anything. Yang Ming, how can you agree? Zhao Ying saw that Yang Ming just nodded and said yes. She was a little anxious. What are you doing? Why do you want to buy a house and a car? My mother is being unreasonable. Do you believe it? Yang Ming shrugged and smiled bitterly. He didn't speak. I mean, what can I say? My current identity is your boyfriend. I can't be too calculative, right? Ying, what's wrong with you? Isn't your mother doing this for your own good? When Wang Guifen heard Zhao Ying's words, she was angry. It is said that a grown girl can't be kept at home. Are you not putting your mother in your eyes now? Although Zhao Ying had some opinions about her mother, she was still her biological mother. She still couldn't bear such an unfilial label. Moreover, Zhao Ying actually understood her mother's bitterness. In the early years, the living conditions of the family were not bad. Her mother was a driver of a large group of public institutions, and her father was a coach of the city martial arts center. In the early 1990s this was a good job. However, with the disbandment of the large group, her mother was out of work, and her father was only receiving a fixed salary every month. She watched other people's lives prosper, but she had to be busy all day for money. It was inevitable that there would be some resentment in her heart. She began to be calculative about her life. When she was at home she often complained about her father, Zhao Dequan. After he retired from the army, why did he have to work in the martial arts center? There were so many jobs to choose from. There was the police station and the factory security department. Her comrade who went to the police station was now a sector-level cadre. Her comrade who went to the factory was now the head of the XX Group's security department with a monthly salary of more than 10,000. However, the wages in the martial arts center were the lowest and the benefits were not good. Young people nowadays went to the gym. Who would go to the martial arts center? How could this make Wang Guifan feel balanced? Zhao Dequan was an honest person, but it did not mean that he was as snobbish as Wang Guifan. Although sometimes he would not argue with Wang Guifan at this moment, he also felt that Wang Guifan was too much. How can she ask for a car and a house on the first meeting? What is this? Is it like selling her daughter? So Zhao Dequan couldn't help but say, "Little Yang, don't take it seriously. Your aunt is just joking with you. He wants to test whether your feelings for Ying are real. You also know that the hearts of parents are pitiful." What are you talking about? Wang Guifan saw that the good thing was ruined by her husband. She was annoyed immediately. "Shut up." Zhao Dequan did not retreat this time. He said loudly with a red neck, "Wang Guifan, you will lead your daughter astray sooner or later. What kind of messy thoughts are you having? Isn't it better to let Ying marry into the bank?" Zhao Dequan was angry. Originally he wanted to use a joke to dissolve the atmosphere in front of him. However, Wang Guifan did not appreciate it. She didn't give him a way out. This made Zhao Dequan very angry. How could Yang Ming not see the key to the matter? He already knew what kind of person Wang Guifan was. Naturally, he wouldn't think that she was joking just now. However, at the moment Yang Ming's impression of Zhao Dequan was still very good. Originally Yang Ming was puzzled. With Wang Guifan's greedy character, how could she teach such an excellent girl like Zhao Ying? It turned out that Zhao Ying was like her father. "Uncle, auntie, don't argue," Yang Ming persuaded. "Originally I also planned to buy a house and a car. If you don't believe me you can ask Zhao Ying. Isn't that the case?" As Yang Ming said this he winked at Zhao Ying. Seeing that Yang Ming was so considerate of her, Zhao Ying was very moved. She couldn't insist anymore so she nodded and said, "Yes, you talk too much." After Wang Guifan listened she suddenly smiled. "Ai." Zhao Dequan sighed. He wasn't stupid. How could he not see the shock that Yang Ming showed when Wang Guifan proposed to buy a house and a car? However, at this moment he felt that Yang Ming was a good young man. He would take care of everyone's face. "Little Yang, what does your family do?" Wang Guifan didn't let go of Yang Ming. "Doing some business." Yang Ming didn't say too much. Then, "Do you know the Sui family in Mount Jing?" Wang Guifan said this just because she felt that some big shots in a place should know each other. "Oh, I was a junior high school classmate with a person named Sui Guangqi. I'm not familiar with the others." Yang Ming said faintly. He didn't want to mention the Sui family. Zhou Jiejia's matter and the Sui family's wedding last time made Yang Ming not have a good impression of the Sui family. "Oh, Sui Guangqi. Isn't that Sui Guangheng, the younger brother of my cousin-in-law?" Wang Guifan didn't hear the indifference in Yang Ming's tone, and she tried to get close to him. "Cousin-in-law?" Yang Ming frowned. "How is this related to the Sui family? What is this messy and complicated relationship?" Chapter 751. "Yeah, your uncle and I are here this time to visit my third aunt in Mount Jing." Wang Guifan said, "Why don't you come with us?" Wang Guifan wanted to show off with Yang Ming. After all, her third aunt had been showing off in front of her for a long time. She was quite confident, so Wang Guifan didn't want to miss this opportunity to show off. "I won't go. I'm not very familiar with Sui Guangqi." Yang Ming shook his head but his heart was a little depressed. He was not interested in the Sui family. Zhao Dequan pulled his wife's clothes. Although he was honest, his mind was much more sober than Wang Guifan. When he heard Yang Ming's words, he knew that his relationship with Sui Guangqi was not good, so he quickly said, "Then don't go. Anyway, we are not familiar with them. We're just going to take a look." Although Wang Guifan was reluctant to lose an opportunity to show off, she had no other way. She also saw that Yang Ming was not very interested in the Sui family. She had to say, "Yeah, they are not very close relatives, but there is no other way. Out of etiquette, we have to go and take a look." Zhao Dequan didn't say anything after listening, but he secretly snorted. Out of etiquette? No other way? I don't know who was the one who was anxious to claim kinship with others. Now that he saw his daughter's boyfriend, he immediately changed his tone. "Dad, Mom, where are you staying at night?" Zhao Ying was very annoyed with her mother's approach, but since Yang Ming had already helped her out, she couldn't help but appreciate it. However, she tried not to mention those irrelevant topics. "We originally wanted to take a look at you and leave, but we have to help you look at the house and car tomorrow, so we can't leave in a hurry." Wang Guifan looked like she was thinking about Yang Ming and Zhao Ying. This made Yang Ming feel a little funny, but he was not very angry. Yang Ming could probably understand that Wang Guifan was afraid that he would deceive Zhao Ying's feelings, so she wanted to seek some benefits for her daughter as much as possible. However, she was a bit too anxious. However, after he bought these things for Zhao Ying, his relationship with Zhao Ying seemed to be a bit unclear, but this was also what Yang Ming was happy to see. "How about staying in a hotel?" Yang Ming said, "It's so late. We can only stay in a hotel." Wang Guifan thought the hotel arranged by Yang Ming would not be bad. Just as she wanted to nod and agree, she heard Zhao Ying, "There is no need, right? The house that I used to rent with Yan Yan is still empty. It's fine to live there." "Where?" "Auntie, I will go back to my own home." Yang Ming was a little dumbfounded. It seemed that Wang Guifan still thought that he and Zhao Ying usually lived together. After sending Zhao Ying's family to the place where Zhao Ying originally lived, Yang Ming drove home. On the way, he called Qin Mengyan to inform her that he was safe. Yang Ming returned home. When he entered the living room, he saw Yang Dashan sitting on the sofa at home, chatting with his father. However, at this moment, Yang Dahai no longer had the previous honest image. He was talking and laughing with Yang Dashan. Looking closely, his uncle had also changed a little. In front of his father, he became a little cautious. He no longer had the arrogance of the past. The sudden development of Yang Ming's family had a great impact on Yang Dashan. Although he had long known that his nephew had some skills, now it seemed that it was just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, wasn't the strength that Yang Ming showed now also the tip of the iceberg? "Nephew, you are back." Yang Dashan saw Yang Ming come in and quickly stood up and said with a smile. Although Yang Ming was a younger generation, in any case Yang Ming helped him in the matter of Tianjiao Entertainment City. He also brought back Shazhuang for him. Yang Dashan was grateful to Yang Ming from the bottom of his heart. "Uncle, please sit down. Why are you still so polite when you see me?" Yang Ming smiled. After knowing the details of the grievances between his uncle and his father, Yang Ming was not as indifferent to Yang Dashan as before. He did not look down on the failure of his uncle's business last time. He just felt that he was a little reckless. "Big Ming, since you are back, why don't you sit down and listen and give me some ideas?" Yang Dahai no longer treated his son as a child like before. "What's the matter?" Yang Ming stopped with some suspicion and sat on the sofa. "It's like this. Your uncle Big brother, you should say it." Yang Dahai nodded to Yang Dashan. "Okay, I will say it. It's like this, nephew." Yang Dashan said, "Sha Zhuang's business, although it is profitable, people always want to make a bigger career, don't they?" "Uncle, don't tell me you're thinking of doing some imaginary business again?" Yang Ming frowned after listening. "Uncle, listen to my advice. It's better not to get involved in an unfamiliar industry. Now the financial crisis is serious. Although the impact on our country is not big, we will always be affected. It's better to do Sha Zhuang's business steadily. Nephew, listen to uncle." Yang Dashan smiled bitterly. "I know that the last time I did Entertainment City I was really confused, but this time I thought about it carefully." "Okay then, uncle, tell me about it. If it really works, money is not a problem." Yang Ming nodded and decided to give his uncle a chance. People can't deny everything when they make a mistake, right? Sha Zhuang's business has been done for so many years. Everything is on the right track. Just ask your aunt to take care of it. It has nothing to do with me." Yang Dashan said, These days I am thinking about whether Dahai's company can produce some heavy construction machinery. For example, excavators, bulldozers and the like. These heavy products have relatively low technical content, but the sales are good. In our province there is really no similar company. Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect his uncle to talk about this. He thought about it and said, "This can be considered. After all, we don't lack technology now. These heavy equipment, I believe that old Buffon can get the relevant technical information. Production and assembly is not a problem at all. If this kind of thing is really popular, then it is not impossible to consider." However, the purpose of Yang Dashan coming here is just to give his father an idea? Yang Ming was a little puzzled. "Uncle, do you mean that you want to participate?" "Participate?" Yang Dashan shook his head after listening. "The total assets of your father's company are so large. Even if I throw all my assets into it, it won't even make a splash. I was thinking that if the production and sales department of heavy equipment is really established, I would like to see if I can take a position as a manager in the family's shazhuang. Sounds like a nouveau riche. It doesn't sound as good as an entrepreneur." "That is not a problem." Yang Ming glanced at his father and said, "Uncle is more familiar with these things. If it is really done, he can be responsible for sales and market development." Yang Ming was not guarding against his uncle. It was just that it was best not to have relatives involved in core things to avoid differences in opinion on some major decisions. It would not look good when the time came. There would not be any problems with sales. At most, he would contact the channel merchants. Although he might receive some small benefits from the channel merchants, these were insignificant things. Yang Dahai nodded. He thought that Yang Ming would not agree with his uncle coming to the company, but now it seemed that Yang Ming did not object. However, Yang Ming was very supportive of Yang Dashan's opinion. Otherwise, if Yang Dashan was really in charge of some core departments, it would be very difficult for the employees when the time came for him to order them around. "Did you guys talk? I'm going back to my room." Yang Ming didn't want to interfere too much with his father's company. Since Yang Dahai had already done it, Yang Ming didn't want to be a behind-the-scenes boss. "Okay, then I will talk to your uncle for a while. I am also very interested in his idea." Yang Dahai nodded and said. At this time Mother Yang also came over and said, "Dahai, it's quite late. I will call the restaurant downstairs to send some supper. You and Big Brother can talk while eating?" "Okay, I just happen to be hungry." Yang Dahai smiled and said, "You go ahead." Yang Ming returned to the room and turned on the computer. He wanted to go online to see if there was any public opinion against the jewelry company today. He opened QQ and chose the invisible state. However, there was still a message. Yang Ming clicked on it, but it was from Wild Female Teacher, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. "Are you there? Are you there? Haven't you come yet?" Wild Female Teacher sent 4 or 5 messages to ask if Yang Ming was there. Originally, Yang Ming wanted to look at the web page first, but when he saw so many messages he didn't want to see anything urgent. So he replied, "I just went online." "What's the matter?" "You're here." Wild Female Teacher's message came quickly. Yang Ming sent an emoji. "Are you free?" asked Wild Female Teacher. "Some, but it shouldn't be possible to compensate for your points," said Yang Ming. "It's not about points. I haven't played landlord for a long time. I'm in a bad mood today. I want to find someone to talk to," said Wild Female Teacher. "Hee, every time you talk to me you seem to be a little depressed. Why? Is it a relationship problem?" Yang Ming recently felt that his relationship was very smooth. Little sister Lin was finally put to bed. Little classmate Xiao Chen also began to compromise. Today's sister Zhao seemed to have a chance. So Yang Ming's mood was quite good. "I met him today," said Wild Female Teacher. "And then, since you saw the person you like, why are you still in a bad mood?" asked Yang Ming. "I know. I just feel that today's meeting was very bad," said Wild Female Teacher. "What did you say or do that made him hate you?" Yang Ming asked patiently. After all, Wild Female Teacher was one of his few netizens with a good relationship. Chapter 752. "I didn't say anything, but my family's approach should make him very unhappy," said Wild Female Teacher. "Family? You even took him to meet your family?" Yang Ming was a little surprised. He didn't expect that after a few months of not seeing each other, the other party had made progress. Not really. It's a bit complicated. After wild female teacher sent this message, she immediately sent another one. You say if the girl wants something, the boy will buy it for her. Does that count as the boy being interested in her? It should count. If the two are not relatives, then it should be like what you said. Yang Ming didn't know how to answer, so he could only say something nice. But the key problem is that these things were asked by my mother. He also agreed to buy them for me. But I think he is just taking care of my mother's face, said wild female teacher. Yang Ming looked at the message sent by wild female teacher. He was slightly stunned. Why do I feel that this is so familiar? Seems like it happened around me. Wild female teacher? Yang Ming clicked on the details of her QQ age 23. Then he opened the chat records of the two people before. Yang Ming couldn't help but be shocked. Is it really her? At first it was a teacher, then it was a student. He went to my school. Yang Ming's mind was suddenly in chaos. How can there be such a coincidence? That also depends on what it is. If it's a small thing, I may agree to it out of respect. But if it's a very expensive thing, at least I won't give it away casually. What did your mother ask for from him? Yang Ming resisted the excitement in his heart. He trembled as he typed a line of words and sent it over. The car and house she asked for. He also agreed. I don't know what to do now. I don't know if he really wants to give it to me or it's just against his will, said wild female teacher. Yang Ming widened his eyes and opened his mouth. He couldn't speak while facing the computer screen. Accident? Coincidence? Or is it the truth? Some things can't be explained clearly through chatting. Why don't we meet and I'll tell you in detail? Yang Ming wished that his special ability could go through the network cable and see the other person's appearance. Meet? Wild female teacher was obviously stunned, and then immediately said, forget it, I'm not used to meeting online friends. Yang Ming was a little disappointed. There were some things that couldn't be asked directly. A meeting was the best solution. Yang Ming was afraid that if he asked something on the internet, the other side would not admit it. At that time he would have no choice but to throw his QQ account aside forever and never go online again. Who could find him? That doesn't matter. Let's just say it like that. Yang Ming didn't insist. After all, if the other party was really Zhao Ying with Zhao Ying's character, she definitely wouldn't easily meet an online friend. Then he's already accompanied you to meet your parents. What else are you worried about? If he didn't like you, why would he go to see your parents? Yang Ming further induced. Actually, the relationship between the two of us really hasn't reached that step yet. My parents want to introduce a boyfriend to me. I don't like it, so I pulled him here to make up the numbers, said wild female teacher. Make up the numbers? Is it just to make up the numbers? Asked Yang Ming. Yeah, that's why I'm worried. Wild female teacher said. Then you don't have to worry about it. You think about it. Who is more stupid? Can you buy a house and a car just to make up the numbers? If he isn't interested in you, then he simply has money to burn. Yang Ming thought, I don't have the habit of burning money. Really? Thank you. I feel much better. My parents told me to go to bed. Let's talk another day. Wild female teacher sent a good night emoji over. Yang Ming wanted to say a few more words, but the other party had already gone offline. Ian, go to bed. Why are you still playing online by yourself when mom and dad finally come? Zhao Ying greeted Zhao Dequan, who was sitting at the computer table. Oh, I know. Zhao Ying closed QQ and replied. Wait, don't turn off the computer. You go online and check what kind of car is more suitable for you to drive and mine. Wang Guifan couldn't forget about the car. Mom, why do you really want to buy it? Zhao Ying frowned. Yang Ming and I haven't reached that step yet. Now you want a house and a car. How can I face him in the future? What's wrong with that? Woman, you have to use your own capital. Think about it. If one day little Yang doesn't want you, don't you still have some assets? Wang Guifan said disapprovingly. She moved a stool and sat next to Zhao Ying. Zhao Ying didn't move. She didn't want to be her mother's accomplice. However, Wang Guifan grabbed the mouse in Zhao Ying's hand and opened the IE browser. She went to the home page of Good 123 and entered a professional car website. It had to be said that the website of Good 123 was quite successful. There was only one page, but from the office workers to the housewives, they all remembered this one-page internet access. Zhao Ying was helpless. She didn't expect her mother to actually surf the internet. It seemed that the internet was very popular now. This new BMW 325 is good, but Ying, you can't buy such a cheap one. You should buy a BMW 5 Series, right? Wang Guifan had a soft spot for BMWs. Mom, can you not be like this? Zhao Ying was about to cry. How can we ask for things from others? What is this? How is this asking for it? Didn't little Yang agree? Since he has already said it, it is like spilled water. How can he take it back? If we don't want it, we are not giving face. Then you can see for yourself. Zhao Ying stood up angrily and went to sleep on her own. Wang Guifan ignored Zhao Ying. She sat directly in Zhao Ying's position and read the car introduction with relish. Zhao Dequan also sighed helplessly. He looked at Wang Guifan. His lips moved, but he didn't say anything in the end. Early the next morning, without informing Zhao Ying, Wang Guifan rushed to the car market and came to the BMW store. After she went there, she directly looked at the two new cars of the BMW 3 Series and 5 Series. Although Wang Guifan's dress wasn't very good, it was all street goods. But in this day and age, there were rich people who wore beggars' clothes, celebrities, and people who drove tractors. Who could distinguish them? Therefore, the salesperson didn't dare to neglect. He followed Wang Guifan all the way to choose the car. When Wang Guifan was satisfied, he asked, Ms. Wang, have you decided to buy the 3 Series or the 5 Series? I want both. Wang Guifan finally enjoyed the treatment of a superior person today. She had lived for most of her life and she was finally generous for once. You want both? The salesperson was stunned. You want to buy two? Yeah, I have one and my daughter has one. My son-in-law will pay for it. Wang Guifan said this with a smile. The salesperson finally understood what was going on. She had hooked up with a rich husband. He didn't dare to delay and quickly complimented, then you are really blessed. That is, who let me give birth to a good daughter. Wang Guifan felt that she liked to hear this. Then how do you pay? Asked the salesperson. Wait, let me call and ask. Wang Guifan said, right, I left in a hurry and didn't bring my cell phone. Do you have a phone in your store? Yes. The salesperson didn't doubt it. She could afford a car, how could she not afford a cell phone? How could he know that Wang Guifan didn't have a cell phone at all? When she was at home, she only had a little smart that couldn't roam and was tied to a landline phone. Wang Guifan deliberately asked for Yang Ming's phone number yesterday for today's action. Po Xiaoyang. I am Ying's mother. Wang Guifan dialed the phone and said with a smile. Auntie Wang, what's the matter? Asked Yang Ming. I am at the BMW Car 4S store. I chose 2 cars. Wang Guifan hesitated and said, now I have to pay the bill. Oh, so that's the case. You give the phone to the salesperson. I will talk to him. Yang Ming said. Okay. Wang Guifan quickly gave the phone to the salesperson on the side. Hello. The salesperson politely picked up the phone. How much is it? Give me the account number of your store. I will ask someone to transfer it to you. Yang Ming said indifferently, the procedures are all done together. Get a better license plate. If you can't get it, I will give you a phone call. You can find Bao Sanli or Ho Jinhan from Mingyang Entertainment and let them do it. Okay. The salesperson was stunned. He thought, who is this person? With such a big tone, he can even order Bao Sanli and Ho Jinhan? Now, it was impossible for people in the business world not to know the names of Ho Jinhan and Bao Sanli. This store was no exception. Just as he was wondering, after a while, someone who claimed to be Bao Sanli from Mingyang Entertainment called and asked about the payment. The salesperson felt that his level wasn't enough, so he quickly called the boss to answer the phone. Seeing that the shop owner was talking to her son-in-law's subordinate, Wang Guifan's heart was so cool. She had never thought that one day she would have such an awe-inspiring moment. After the shop owner hung up the phone, he first scolded the salesperson for his bad reception. Ms. Wang is a VIP. Why did you receive her yourself? Where are the others? Hurry up and invite Ms. Wang to the VIP room. I will do the following procedures personally. After that, he turned to Wang Guifan and said, Ms. Wang, look. You came to buy a car, but you didn't call in advance so that I could receive you personally. If you are not free, you can tell me the model of the car. I will ask someone to drive it for you to choose. Although he didn't know the real origin of Wang Guifan, he heard from the salesperson that the person who called before was very arrogant. He treated Bao Sanli and Ho Junhan like his subordinates. And this Wang Guifan was that person's mother-in-law. How could this be? How could the manager not care? Chapter 753. Of course, these were all done by Wang Guifan behind Zhao Ying's back. If Zhao Ying knew about it, she would also stop her. However, Wang Guifan thought when the time comes, what is done cannot be undone. The procedures are all done. You can't just return it, right? After completing the procedures, Wang Guifan didn't rush to drive Zhao Ying's car away. Instead, she only drove the blue BMW 328i that she chose and left Car City. Anyway, she didn't have to worry about the license plate. She found the sales office of Huasong Wenyuan, a luxury residential area that she saw online yesterday. This was a luxury residential area closest to Songjiang Industry University. It had just opened and there were still many good locations that were not sold out. Driving a brand new BMW, Wang Guifan felt different. It was much more comfortable than driving the Volga in the past. In the early years, Wang Guifan also drove a car for the leader. But the car drivers at that time weren't as badass as they were now. The relationship between them and the leader was only a superior and subordinate. Unlike now, which driver wasn't the confidant of the leader. Even if the large group was disbanded, the leader couldn't be laid off, right? It wasn't difficult to bring a person to another unit. However, Wang Guifan sighed that she didn't have the opportunity. She was a car driver for a few years in vain. She thought that she would never have the opportunity to touch a car again in her life. But she didn't expect that she would drive a BMW directly when she drove again. She didn't know if it was a psychological effect, or the salesperson at the sales office saw Wang Guifan's car and acted snobbish. He flattered Wang Guifan for a while. Wang Guifan finally realized the charm of money at this moment. Money makes the world go round. This saying is really true. If it were a few days ago, who would be around a housewife like me? The more she realized this feeling of floating, the more Wang Guifan couldn't give it up. She was thinking in her heart. When I go back, I must teach my daughter how to lock a man's heart. If one day little Yang is tired of my daughter, then it will be terrible. Wang Guifan didn't want to live that kind of life anymore. Madam, what kind of house do you want to see? The salesperson responded with a smile. Well, what kind of houses do you have? Wang Guifan asked casually, looking like a rich lady on TV. Although Wang Guifan didn't dress well and didn't have a brand on her, her car was good. Moreover, who could be sure that she didn't find a tailor shop to order her clothes? Although his taste was not that good, everyone had their own preferences. The salesman had even seen people wearing hurdle vests and big pants driving Mercedes-Benz to buy buildings. Therefore, she was not surprised and said, there are small apartments, medium apartments, large apartments, and luxury duplexes. Of course, there are also independent villas. What's the price? Wang Guifan asked. A normal apartment costs around 10,000 yuan per square meter. A duplex costs around 20,000 yuan per square meter. And a villa costs up to 50,000 yuan per square meter, the salesperson explained. Wang Guifan clicked her tongue. She didn't even dare to look at such a high-priced building. Wang Guifan calculated for a moment. The price of the villa was too high. She estimated that one villa would cost more than 10 million. Oh my God, was it possible to buy such an expensive house? However, a duplex could be considered, so he asked, how much does a duplex cost? Looking at the display model on the side, the structure of the duplex was really good. Wang Guifan just took a look and liked it very much. A duplex is about 7.5 million yuan. The salesperson said, the orientation and the type of house are the same, but the price is slightly different according to the distance to the entrance of the community. More than 7 million yuan. Wang Guifan was a little dazzled. How many lifetimes did she and her husband have to struggle to save so much money? Originally, she thought that the car she bought was luxurious enough, but now she found that the car was really nothing compared to the house. Wang Guifan didn't dare to make a decision on her own. She said to the salesman, I will make a phone call and discuss with my family. That's what you should do, but there is no signal in this hall. You can use our phone here. The salesman was not surprised. After all, buying a house was a big deal. It was normal to discuss with family. The salesman's suggestion was exactly what Wang Guifan wanted. She didn't have a cell phone. When she wanted to borrow a phone, the salesman took the initiative to ask. Wang Guifan dialed Yang Ming's phone again. Little Yang, it's me, Yingying's mother. Wang Guifan said, I am at the sales office. I saw a duplex, but the price is a bit expensive. It costs more than 70,000 yuan. Oh? Where did you see the house? Yang Ming didn't care about the price. In Huasongwen yuan. Wang Guifan said, I think this is the closest place to the school. Huasongwen yuan? No way, right? Yang Ming sweated, but he couldn't think of a reason to refuse. Fortunately, Wang Guifan wanted to buy a duplex, not a villa. If he bought a house here once Zhao Ying moved in, it was possible to meet Qin Mengyan again. At that time, God knew if Qin Mengyan would have any ideas. However, judging from the recent events, Qin Mengyan seemed to be more open-minded. She was not as jealous as before. Forget it. Anyway, even if I end up with Zhao Ying, the relationship between these women will be exposed sooner or later. He simply didn't think so much. He braced himself and said, okay, but you wait. I will look for someone to see if I can get a discount. Hey. Wang Guifan saw that Yang Ming didn't question the price of the duplex. She was excited, but she couldn't help but regret it. I should have asked for a villa. Yang Ming picked up the phone, opened the phone book and found Li Dagong's number. He was about to dial it, but he hesitated. After a long while, Yang Ming shook his head and didn't call Li Dagong directly. Yang Ming could see from Wang Guifan's style that she wasn't a tight-lipped person. Li Dagong didn't know about Zhao Ying's matter. If they were together, it wouldn't be good if something was leaked. Therefore, Yang Ming directly dialed Manager Lu's phone number. Manager Lu, I am Yang Ming. Do you remember me? Yang Ming wasn't sure if Manager Lu could remember him. After all, they just exchanged phone numbers politely. Remember. How can I not remember? Manager Lu's hearty laughter came from the phone. The owner of the Sun Moon Pavilion. Mr. Yang, do you have any orders? Previously, Manager Lu was very puzzled about the identity of Yang Ming. However, Manager Lu inquired about the identity of Gu Jianchao that day. The current Ming Yang Century was the chairman of the former Wang Century Xiongfen Group. For this company, Manager Lu still understood it. It had a strong black background. Who was the person who could reprimand Gu Jianchao face to face? During a company dinner by chance, Li Dagong drank too much. When the two were chatting, Manager Lu asked about Yang Ming. Li Dagong wasn't very clear. He just said that he used to follow Yang Ming in the underworld. This bit of information was more than enough. Combined with the clues in Li Dagong's words and the scene of him reprimanding Gu Jianchao that day, Manager Lu had some idea of Yang Ming's identity. This person might be a big shot in the underworld of Songjiang. However, he didn't dare to inquire about it. Manager Lu was really lucky that Yang Ming didn't give him a real-life PK in his office at that time. This is the case. I have a relative who went to your place to look at a house. She's next to the phone. Help me take care of her. Her surname is Wang and her name is Wang Guifan. She is in her 40s. Yang Ming said. No problem. Manager Lu quickly agreed. It didn't take long for a man in his 30s to greet them. After the salesman next to Wang Guifan saw him, he quickly said, President Lu. Manager Lu looked next to the phone. There was only an unfamiliar middle-aged woman, Wang Guifan. So he thought that this was probably the relative that Yang Ming talked about on the phone. Hello, are you Ms. Wang Guifan? Manager Lu asked tentatively. It's me. You are? Although Wang Guifan learned from the salesman that the person in front of her was a president, she didn't know him. I'm the manager of the sales office. My surname is Lu. Mr. Yang called me, so I quickly rushed over. Manager Lu smiled and said to Wang Guifan. Wang Guifan was shocked. Completely shocked. She really couldn't imagine that Yang Ming's influence in Songjiang was so great. Otherwise, it was very likely that everything would turn into a dream. Zhang Dejuan's work style and efficiency made Yang Ming appreciate it very much. He did the things that were given to him not long ago. Even the communication with the foreign side was done in an orderly manner. Yang Ming looked at the video demo on the computer and admired Zhang Dejuan's means. The advertising technique was natural and unrestrained. In the entire promotional video, there was not a single mention of the previous high-price store incident. However, the entire video made people feel that the previous article on the website was purely a farce. An ignorant piece of news written by an ignorant person. As for the later operation as well as the broadcast and dissemination on TV and the internet, it was all up to Zhang Dejuan. At least, Zhang Dejuan was still very popular in this small area of the province. Tomorrow was Xu Ye's concert. Ho Jinhan was very busy, and the planning work had entered the final stage. The venue of the district stadium had been negotiated. In fact, there was no need to talk about it. Songjiang, as a non-provincial city, could host the concert of an international superstar. It had made this small city famous all over the country. The leaders in charge of the city were also very concerned about this. After all, the success of the concert also represented the economic development level of the city. The sound equipment was brought directly from Hong Kong with Xu Ye's staff. The installation and debugging were also done by a special person. But even so, the overall work made Mingyang Entertainment prepare day and night for several days to be foolproof. Yesterday, the suspenseful chat record made Yang Ming sleepless all night. He really couldn't figure it out. If the other party was not Zhao Ying, how could there be such a coincidence in the world? It was just a pity that the other party refused to meet with him. Otherwise he could confirm it himself. For Wang Guifen's requests, Yang Ming naturally agreed. It was all for Zhao Ying's face. No matter how much she tossed around, it wouldn't cost much money. Big Ming, tomorrow is Xu Ye's concert. Aren't you going to the company to take a look? Today was Saturday. Yang Dehai rarely slept in at home. I'm not going. I have nothing to do. Yang Ming was a little annoyed. There were too many things in these 2 days and it was too sudden. First, Qin Mengyan revealed his relationship with Lin Jiun. Then Zhao Ying came out, making Yang Ming somewhat at a loss for a while. Yang Ming didn't deny that he was greedy. He was still thinking about what he had in his bowl, but who wasn't like this? Big Ming, you seem to have something on your mind? Yang Dehai looked at Yang Ming's frowning bad luck and asked. It's okay, Dad. Yang Ming smiled. You go ahead with your work. Well, you've grown up. I won't say more. Yang Dehai nodded and said, however, you don't have to worry too much about external things. Although our current life isn't as good as those of the world's richest people, it's still not bad. Living happily is better than anything else. Yang Ming didn't expect his father to have this awareness. He couldn't help but smile and said, Dad, I'm really fine. I'm just a little tired recently. Yang Dehai turned and went to the kitchen. His mother had already prepared the meal. After a few bites, he had to rush to the company again. Although it was Saturday, he still had to take a look. As a leader, there was basically no weekend. Yang Ming called Qin Mengyan and asked where she was. He didn't expect her to be shopping. This made Yang Ming slightly stunned. Isn't she too heartless? Uncle Qin is still lying in the hospital. It's only been less than 2.5 days and she went out shopping? Qin Mengyan seemed to have heard Yang Ming's surprise. After a little consideration, she knew why Yang Ming was like this. So she said, I was chased out by my dad. Originally, my mom and I went to the hospital to accompany him. We didn't expect him to be playing chess with his colleagues. When he saw us coming, he kept chasing us out. He said that he was fine and didn't want to make it seem like he was seriously injured. He didn't ask us to accompany him. My mother went to my grandmother's house. I had nothing to do, so I came out to walk around. Yang Ming was relieved. He knew Qin Fei's character very well. He was the kind of person who was more forthright and didn't care about trifles. He really only hurt his leg. There were no other problems. Naturally, he wouldn't ask the whole family to accompany him in the hospital. He would feel uncomfortable. However, Yang Ming thought that Qin Mengyan was shopping with her mother. After listening to it, it wasn't so he asked curiously, You came out to shop alone? Of course not. I wanted to look for you, but didn't you go to see Sister Ying's family? I was afraid that you weren't done with your work, so I didn't call you. It just so happened that your sister Lin called me in the morning, so I asked her out. Qin Mengyan smiled. Sister Lin? Yang Ming was shocked. How did these two people get together? Or did Lin Jiun call Qin Mengyan first? Seeing that Yang Ming didn't say anything, Qin Mengyan also knew that Yang Ming was surprised. However, after experiencing so many things these days, Qin Mengyan also took Lin Jiun's matter lightly. Her father's car accident shocked her. At that time, the feeling of nervousness and anxiety could only be understood by those who were in it. After seeing that her father was fine, Qin Mengyan really realized that it was best to have the person she loved safe and sound by her side. Since Yang Ming loved her and spoiled her, even if Lin Jiyun existed, this love wouldn't be less. Then why should she care so much? Lin Jiyun's existence wasn't something she could change. Instead of fighting with each other, it was better to be friendly. Not only could it show that she was magnanimous, but it could also make Yang Ming feel guilty toward her. Qin Mengyan already knew that Yang Ming's character was amenable to coaxing but not coercion. If she really made a fuss, not only would it have no effect, but it would also make Yang Ming impatient. When the two of them had a cold war, she would still be the one who suffered. Unless she completely wanted to break up with Yang Ming, but now it seemed that this wasn't a realistic thing. You two, why are you going shopping? Yang Ming's question was somewhat incoherent. Why? You don't want us to be together? Asked Qin Mengyan. That's not it. You two continue. Yang Ming was afraid that he would say too much and make a mistake, so he quickly hung up the phone. In fact, the two of them didn't go shopping together in advance. This was what happened in the morning. Lin Jiyun learned from Yang Ming that Qin Mengyan's father had an accident. After thinking about it, she decided to call Qin Mengyan to ask. After all, her identity had been recognized by Qin Mengyan. She couldn't be like before. He had to try to integrate into this three-person group. Qin Mengyan was surprised that Lin Jiyun called to greet her, but she was also very happy. It proved that Lin Jiyun wasn't the kind of person who was arrogant and self-righteous. Chapter 755. It just so happened that Qin Mengyan had nothing to do, so she proposed to go out for a stroll. The newly bought villa had been properly decorated. Qin Mengyan planned to buy some daily necessities. Seeing that Qin Mengyan asked her out, Lin Jiyun was instinctively shocked. She was still a little afraid of Qin Mengyan in her heart. After all, the love that originally belonged to Qin Mengyan was divided into half by her. Perhaps it was less than half, but this was not important. For Qin Mengyan, even if it was divided into half, it was not a fair thing. However, she couldn't refuse. After hesitating for a while, Qin Mengyan said directly, "Okay, let's meet at the commercial street after 30 minutes. Lin Jiyun still wanted to say something, but Qin Mengyan had already hung up the phone. Lin Jiyun held the phone and was stupefied. She was somewhat at a loss. For Qin Mengyan's initiative to ask her out, Lin Jiyun was very hesitant. Although Qin Mengyan looked very friendly, after all, her identity was there. How could it not be awkward? Until Xin Yueping came over and saw her daughter in a daze, she shouted, "Yun Er, what are you doing?" Lin Jiyun woke up with an awe, and looked at the phone in her hand. 10 minutes had passed. She quickly got up from the bed and put on her clothes in a hurry. She said, "Mom, I'm going shopping. With Yang Ming?" Xin Yueping asked casually. "No, with a classmate, a girl," said Lin Jiyun. "Oh, then come back early," Xin Yueping said. Since her daughter became the company's manager, Xin Yueping rarely cared about her daughter's social situation. And Lin Jiyun nodded and thought, if I don't make it, it won't be good if I'm late. Compared to Yang Ming asking her out, she was much more nervous. She hurried out of the house. Lin Jiyun, who had always been thrifty, was also extravagant this time. She stopped a taxi and hurried to the commercial street. Fortunately, the two got off at the same time, so Lin Jiyun was not late. "Elder sister Yen." Lin Jiyun lowered her head and called out carefully. "What are you doing? You look like you are being bullied." When Qin Mengyan saw Lin Jiyun being bullied, she couldn't help but feel pity for her. All his resentment towards her was thrown away. Such a girl would never be envied or disliked by others. Lin Jiyun's character really made Qin Mengyan unable to be angry. Qin Mengyan sighed. If I really instigated Lin Jiyun to break up with Yang Ming with Lin Jiyun's character, she would definitely agree. But what was she going to do after they broke up? It could be seen that Lin Jiyun's feelings for Yang Ming were very special. From the initial hatred and gratitude to later love. It could be said that Yang Ming was the only person she could rely on in her heart right now. Qin Mengyan couldn't bear to do this no matter what. Since she couldn't bear to do it, then it wasn't a bad thing to get along well with him. Just like now, when she didn't have anyone to accompany her, she could find her. Both of them were Yang Ming's girlfriends. Although there was still some awkwardness between them, they were always on the same side. It was convenient to talk and it was easy to find common topics. Lin Jiyun always felt a little guilty in front of Qin Mengyan. "You still don't want to say it. I said that if you like it in the future you can call me Sister Yen. I will also treat you as a sister. I won't have any prejudice against you. Really? Qin Mengyan said sincerely. Thank you, Sister Yen. Lin Jiyun was a little moved. She looked up and her eyes were full of warmth. What are you thanking for? Qin Mengyan smiled and said, we will be a family in the future. You don't have to be so polite. Qin Mengyan was very surprised that she would say this sentence so casually. Family. This is such a difficult decision to make. However, looking at Lin Jiyun's thin body in front of her, Qin Mengyan said this sentence so easily. Just like when she saw Zhou Jiajia, there was no hesitation. When Lin Jiyun heard Qin Mengyan mention a family, her jade face couldn't help but blush, but it was full of joy. The current result was already a gift from God. Lin Jiyun didn't ask for too much. Her wish from the beginning to the end was that Yang Ming could always pretend to be her boyfriend forever. The current situation was better than her previous wish. She never had the idea of monopolizing Yang Ming, so it was particularly important to get Qin Mengyan's approval. It's good. Lin Jiyun nodded and said, I also treat you as my sister. That's right. Qin Mengyan gently took Lin Jiyun's hand and said, don't stand here stupidly. Buy some daily necessities with me. No one would feel that there was anything wrong with two girls holding hands while shopping. However, if it were two men it would be a little shocking. Although Lin Jiyun was puzzled why Qin Mengyan would ask her to buy so many bedding products, sofa products and some teacups, kettles and the like, she didn't ask much. These things in the Lin family were all bought by Xin Yueping, but the situation was different. Lin Jiyun thought that Qin Mengyan was buying these things for her. As they were shopping, Qin Mengyan received a call from Yang Ming. Qin Mengyan glanced at the phone and then whispered to Lin Jiyun, who was next to her, it's my husband's call. Do you want to hear it? Qin Mengyan's words were very ambiguous. If she was with others she might add the word Ming and turn it into my husband's phone call. However, Qin Mengyan omitted the word me. Lin Jiyun licked her lips and was very embarrassed. Sister Yen, he is calling you. Are you jealous? Qin Mengyan teased her. No. Lin Jiyun was shocked. Her shyness was her instinct. She was scared by Qin Mengyan. She immediately turned pale and said nervously, Sister Yen, I really didn't mean that. Qin Mengyan looked at Lin Jiyun's appearance. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She said, Sister Lin, I'm just joking with you. Don't be like this. Am I really so scary? Like a big tiger? Lin Jiyun looked at the smiling Qin Mengyan and knew that she was really joking with her. After listening to Qin Mengyan's words, she couldn't help but laugh. I know, if I really had a problem with you or something, I wouldn't accept you and recognize you as my sister. I wouldn't ask you out to shop. Qin Mengyan shook her head. If Yang Ming saw it he would really think that I bullied you. Lin Jiyun nodded and knew that Qin Mengyan was telling the truth. He was really too sensitive. She smiled embarrassedly. This was why Qin Mengyan picked up the phone and told Yang Ming that she was shopping with Sister Lin. After hanging up the phone, Qin Mengyan said to Lin Jiyun, husband is very strange. Let's go shopping together. Heh. Lin Jiyun smiled and leaned toward Qin Mengyan intimately. She said, Sister Yen, I'm so happy now. Me too. Somehow Qin Mengyan felt that Lin Jiyun, this girl, was really amiable. She had a good temper. It was really good to have her accompany her. At the very least the two could become really good friends. As long as both of them had Yang Ming in their hearts, they would never scheme against each other because of some other interests. It wasn't until Lin Jiyun and Qin Mengyan brought these bedsheets and quilts into the villa in Huasong Wenyuan that Lin Jiyun said in surprise, Sister Yen, where is this? How is it? Isn't it beautiful? Qin Mengyan was quite satisfied with the love nest that she carefully designed with Yang Ming. And it's really beautiful, but it seems that it has just been renovated. Although the renovation was done with environmentally friendly materials and deodorizing treatment, there was no special smell. However, the emptiness in the room still showed that this was a new house. I just bought it with Yang Ming a while ago. Qin Mengyan nodded. Lin Jiyun was stunned. She was slightly envious, but she also understood that Qin Mengyan was Yang Ming's real girlfriend. Therefore it was understandable that they bought a new house together. A girl's heart was always very delicate and sensitive. Seeing that Lin Jiyun's expression was gloomy, Qin Mengyan immediately understood the key. She pulled Lin Jiyun's hand and said, Why are you still standing there stupidly? Let's decorate our house together. Our house. Lin Jiyun was stunned. She looked at Qin Mingyan suspiciously, thinking that she said something wrong. Don't say that you are a good student. You must live in the dormitory. Qin Mingyan smiled. After listening to Qin Mingyan's words, Lin Jiyun was really surprised. There was actually a place for her in this villa. Looking at Lin Jiyun's stunned look, Qin Mingyan said, "Do you think Yang Ming is so kind? He bought such a big house for me. Can I live here?" Qin Mingyan blamed the reason for buying the villa on Yang Ming. In fact, wasn't she the one who chose this place? As a matter of fact, Qin Mingyan's name was written on the villa's property certificate. However, Qin Mingyan couldn't say too much. She blamed Yang Ming and included him in the list of premeditated perverts. After listening to Qin Mingyan's words, the envy in her heart was swept away. Lin Jiyun happily picked up the things on the ground and began to decorate the new home with Qin Mingyan. Qin Mingyan didn't intend to tell Lin Jiyun about the villa. After all, this was a house that Yang Ming bought for her. It had an extraordinary meaning. However, since Zhou Zhejia lived here, Lin Jiyun wasn't left out. Besides, this villa was really big. It was a bit empty for two people to live here. This room. Lin Jiyun looked at the bedroom that had been properly decorated and asked, "Sister Yen, is this your room?" "It's not mine. It's Zhou Zhejia's." Qin Mingyan glanced and explained, "You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."